Hey, 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 welcome back, everybody. It is January 23rd of 2024. It's Tuesday. We got a little bit of everything in the box today. We got updates on Idaho, some new documents. We have some updates on the Kansas City story I was sharing with you guys, as well as Delphi. So we're going to get into this right about now. Let's get this show on the road. Thank you so much for joining me today. Here we go. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Hope everybody's having a great day today. And we are back. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Good to see you all. Hope you all had a great night last night. Thank you guys for joining me last night. You are appreciated. Hope everyone's having a great start to their day today. Like I said, guys, we got a little bit of everything talking about today. We're going to talk about Idaho dropped some new documents, of course. I share those with you guys always. And then the crap going on in Delphi as well. Still updates with that. Everything that's being denied. The judge is still being the judge. And then, of course, we got a couple little things I wanted to talk about. Going along with last night's show in Kansas City, there, that crazy scenario that I found out after the fact when I ended the show that I want to throw in here too, and then some possibly. So, lots to talk about, guys, and we're gonna try to cover it all. Hopefully, we don't get stuck in the zone. You know what I mean? So let's work our hardest to do that. But welcome everybody. It's great to see you guys, and I hope again you guys are having a great start to your day. um, shoot, give me a second here, folks. I gotta check something. Something's not working right. Nope, it's not working right. Just a second. I'm almost there. Hmm. I wonder. I wonder. And of course, no block. Never, ever a block. It's okay. I'll do my best. Okay. Sorry, guys. All right. So first out of the gate, let's see who we. I know that you see the new background, guys. I'm trying to make it work. I got a couple little issues I got to fix on it. I need more light, is what it is, I guess. So no biggie. Please excuse it. So let's see who joined us today with graced us with their awesome presence. It looks like first off out of the gate, we got Luna Whispers back in the house. Welcome. Good to see you. CL, thank you for dropping back in. I appreciate you. One made not great to see you, Eddie. Thank you for joining us today. Miss Zelda, welcome back. Great to have you here. MIE, MIA, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Again, see Carolyn Miller, always happy to see you. Miss Victoria, thank you for joining us today. CL Party of Five, great to see you. Miss Kells, great to see you here. ADHD, yeah, I know. Um, let's see. El Bariqua, thank you for joining us today. Great to see you. Always a pleasure to have you. Any ruler, hola, welcome back. Great to see you today. True crime time. Thank you for joining us today. Salty, great to have you here. A lot of people tell me that too. It's got a good baseline to it. I love it. Cluminati's in the house. Welcome back, Clue. Nice to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Sue Williams, welcome back to you. Great to see you. Kim Marin, also so very happy to see you. Rowena Moses, thank you for joining us today. Great to have you here. Let me see. Mr. Philip Hughes, welcome. Good to see you, sir. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure you tell that beautiful wife of mine to take great care of you. Sony's in the house. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Come on, guys. We got 40 likes and 79 people. We can make this match. Come on. Come on. You guys can make this happen. Let's do this. Karma Police is in the house. Great to see you, Karma. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back, Fallon. Great to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Let me see here. Tina B, welcome back to you. Great to see you. Um, Nat Cat, welcome back. Great to have you here. Finny Kerp, welcome back. Good to have you. Niles Buckman, great to see you today. Thank you for joining us. The Space Junkie 69's in the house. Thank you for being here. Let me see. Show. Let me see. Sue Williams, welcome back. Great to see you. Did I just see Chad Buttons in the house from Iowa? Good to see you, Chad. Thank you for joining us. I think I got everybody. Let me double check here. Hold on a minute. Miss Natalie B, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Uh, all right. Driving and listening. Lots of people do that. I heard that too. I'm sure there probably was. I see what you're saying. Space Junkie. I have those days too. I get it. Cameron. Oh yeah, there's more. You know what's crazy? It drives me nuts. I watch this stuff. I was talking to Clue last night. Denise Datillo, welcome. Good to see you. After I ended the show last night, I had alerts and updates, and I go look, and there was stuff right there. There's some stuff to talk about with this one, guys. In the Kansas City scenario, I'm sorry, but to me, it sounds and seems like there's some lying going around. No worries, Eddie. Absolutely. Any help is great help. I think I got everybody. Come on in, though. Grab a chair. Get comfortable. We shall do this. Cold Styles, thank you for joining us. All right. Tell my lovely sister I said hello and I love her, Mr. Hughes, and tell her to take care of you. What's happening Friday? Good to see you, sir. Wow. Nice picture, friend. Mr. Dinky, thank you for joining us. Good to see you today, sir. I appreciate that, guys. Again, another great creator here, Dinky, in my opinion. Should you guys have not chosen to check that out yet, I'm telling you, you got to. Please go over, hit that like button, subscribe, check out Dinky. In my opinion, it's a great show, great person, amazing guy, great stuff always, folks. You'll never be disappointed. Michael 007, great to see you. If we could drop that link, folks, I would really appreciate that. Kathy Dugan, good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, Dinky. I appreciate that, buddy. Hope you're having a great start to your. Well, I forget sometimes where you're at, having a great day because you're already halfway through your day. So, yeah, guys, we got a little bit of updating on everything. We're going to talk about some stuff going on in Delphi, Idaho, and of course, Kansas City. And I think, guys, we're going to hit Idaho last because we have a tendency to get stuck in Idaho sometimes. So I think it's best that we cover that last. Marina Girl, thank you for joining us. Good to see you today. That is a fact, Salty. They did not freeze to death at all. It was clarified. So we talked about that last night a little bit after my show on it, which kind of irritated me, but that's okay. It gives us something more to talk about today, guys. And I watched something, guys. I'm gonna show you here next, and I was kind of irritated with it. I was irritated with this Mr. Willis's attorney, I should say. He's gonna get him in trouble. That's all I can say. He's gonna get him in trouble. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. There was three gentlemen that were found deceased in Kansas City, unfortunately, frozen to death, hypothermia, all that fun stuff. Well, and this is for those of you that aren't familiar. It was stated basically by the homeowner, the home renter, whatever you want to call them, that that's what happened to them. That they were just froze to death. Well, guys, that's not the facts. And there's some things that were stated yesterday after the fact when we left here yesterday, guys, or last night. For those of you that were here last night when we left, that the story's changed again. I don't. That's not cool with me, especially coming from an attorney. That's a problem. Kimberly KB, welcome to you. David Clayton, great to see you. Uh, there's a little bit of quite a bit of a difference at this point now, considering EB Marie, great to see you. I don't know. Most of you guys were in here last night with us when we talked about this. We had a good following for this, and I really appreciate that because it needs to be out there. I feel horrible for these families, you guys. Horrible. None of this needed to happen. These guys just went to hang out with a friend, watch a game, and that was the end of it. That's it. They never came home. This is sad. Very sad. So, where are we at here? Yeah, let's start. We're gonna start. Is this the same one? Oh, and it's fact. We do now know that the guy that lived in the house moved out. Okay. It's most likely a result of personal choices, and it's very absolutely possible. Walt Harris, good to see you. Good point, Sarge. Um, Walt says, "Hey Diego, there is a user named Pop Jackson on another channel who mentioned that there may have been a second place where these three friends visited." Yeah, Well, here's what happened, folks. The story was last night when we did this, right? For those of you that remember, that, according to this guy's attorney, the story was that the last thing he knows that they were doing just well, first we heard that there was a fourth gentleman that was hanging out there with five total, right? We did hear that. Well, that was clarified. We also heard that this guy early on when we talked about this first in the story, this guy left around 11:30, 12 o'clock that night, right? Welcome, Canadian Cat Lady. Great to see you. And he said, quote unquote, that the guys looked fine when I left. They were playing dice. Okay, great. That was that. And he left. Right after my show last night, I watched another interview, and the guy changed his story again. And I'm gonna let you guys see it. I'm sure a lot of you probably have seen it, but just okay, doke. So remember the video we watched first last night with the interview with Mr. Willis's attorney. Remember that, okay? We have another one, another good old Ashley Banfield. Okay, we're gonna watch this interview now. I want you guys to remember this. This was just not even 12 hours ago that we watched this. Hey, Jesse, good to see you. Anna Paula, welcome to you. And again, Mods, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. So, guys, remember not even 12 hours ago, we watched an interview with this gentleman. It was within a couple days, okay? It probably is, Jesse. Oh, your background definitely is better. North Carolina Mountain Man, what's going on? And thank you guys. I appreciate that. I hope the mic sounds good. I hope I have it set right. So, remember the interview that we watched last night? And like I said, this is, of course, these are different days and stuff, but this just kind of blew my mind how quick this stuff changed. Okay. So here we go. And let me know how the audio is, guys, in case you have any issues with it. Actually, let me double check this real quick. Hey, Teresa, good to see you.
Foremost, your client, Jordan Willis, is he free and clear tonight, or is he still facing some kind of potential criminal exposure?
There was never any criminal charges. There is no case. The police have stated that this is not a homicide investigation and they do not suspect foul play.
Hey, Heather, good to see you, sis.
So he could do an interview. You'd be fine with him doing a TV interview because you now feel confident he has no concerns ahead of him.
He could do an interview if he chose to. As I advised him, as I advise all my clients, that he shouldn't say anything at this time until the investigation has been concluded.
I'm so curious about what could have possibly happened, as are so many people watching right now, as I'm sure you are, and potentially even. Do you know from speaking to your client, were there drugs involved with the party, the football watching party that night?
There are some things that I'm not going to be allowed to comment on based on.
That's a flag for me, folks. Not everybody might see it that way, but it's a flag for me. That's all I'm saying. So,
Confidentiality reasons, there were, in addition to the three gentlemen that are deceased, in addition to Jordan, there was one other individual that was present in the home. And I'm not going to comment on anything about the activities that were going on there other than the fact that they were there and they were socializing after the Chiefs game.
It's interesting,
thank
though,
you guys.
that you would bring up um, that there was another person there other than the three who died, the owner of the home, and then this mystery man. After the question I asked about drugs, is there a reason for that?
Welcome, Chris.
No, just in fact, I learned a little bit more about this other individual today, and I also, it's my understanding that he spoke with police as well, and that he supported what Jordan told law enforcement and what we believe actually was going on at the time.
Has that fourth man and Jordan, have they spoken together since this tragedy unfolded?
I don't believe that they have.
And yet, it's your understanding that this fourth mystery person, whose name I hope will surface soon, his account of what happened that night is directly in correlation with Jordan's account.
Sure, and he's not a mystery person. He's one of the group of friends that they watch the game with. He's known to everybody. He's known to law enforcement. So he's not a mystery person. He's somebody there. And essentially, from my understanding, everything that he told the police is in line with what Jordan told the police, even though they were interviewed separately.
I'm so glad he's not a mystery person. What's his name?
I'm not going to provide his name. If and when he chooses to go public and say his name, then he can do that. He's not my client. I don't represent him. I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, I understand. Did your client ever leave the home from Sunday night and the football game?
Now, I want you guys to pay attention to this stuff coming up here, okay? And remember last night what we heard and what we talked about. Pay close attention to what gets said here. This is interesting to me.
Until Tuesday, when they discovered the bodies in his backyard. Did he ever leave and go outside the home?
No, I don't believe that he did. He's self-employed. He works out of his home. He stayed in the home the entire time from, the basic scenario is they had watched the Chiefs game in a couple of different places. They went back to his place, his home afterwards to play some video games and hang out. And at some point during that process, he got tired and he fell asleep. Before he fell asleep, they were going to leave. He actually escorted them to the door, said their goodbyes, opened the door. He went back on the couch and he crashed. And then when he woke up, they were gone. And during the day and a half that occurred, 2 days, I guess, because the police came in around 10 o'clock on Tuesday.
Now, to catch you guys up, last night, this gentleman himself, on the last interview we watched, stated that he was in and out of the house over that couple days. But now he's saying that the guy never left over that entire period of time, okay? And then, on top of that, then he stated that he did not know what door they left out of and that they seemed okay when they left. None of this talk of going to the couch and laying down, none of that came out. Nothing was that. There was no talk of video games. They were talking about playing dice. Now it's video games. So he said he went to bed and he didn't know what door they left out of. Now the guy's saying that he escorted them to the door, which is too formal, you'll find out, and so on and so forth. This is a completely different story.
Tuesday to his house. He was doing the things that he normally does inside of his home. And that he was sleeping, he was eating, and he was working.
Can I back up? Yeah, can I back up for a moment there? Are you saying that your client, Jordan Willis, escorted the three victims to the door? He showed them to the door. Did they walk out the door?
It's not that formal, Ashley. He didn't escort them. They're his friends. Okay. They've been together all day. They're leaving the house. They're guys. They shake hands. They hug. See you later, bro. Whatever they did. But he left them as they were leaving the home. It's not unusual.
There's more that we're going to be watching after this, just to show you guys. I got more. And yeah, that's part of it too, Victoria, what you're saying to Eddie there.
For him and his friends to spend time in each other's homes. It's not unusual for them to hang out when the other person isn't there even. And in this case, he was there. So for whatever reason, they either came back in the home or they went direct.
Now that there, to me, is a bit of a red flag. Why are you telling her that they have a tendency to hang out when people aren't even home? I know that I'm nitpicking, folks, but after hearing this guy the first time I heard him, I mean, he's talking about things now that he's talking too much, in my opinion. but he's talking about things that don't matter. He's talking about he changed his story in many different fashions, in my opinion. So there's more, and it gets better. And when we jump off of this to the next one, wait, you see that?
Directly to the backyard. That part, no one knows the answer to. Jordan believes they came back in the house and hung out for a while and continued to play video games. And at some point, they went outside in the backyard.
But to be clear, those three men left the house. Jordan saw them leave the house.
He said goodbye to them. He laid down and he crashed, and they went out the front door. Yes.
They went out the front door. He witnessed them leaving the front door of his house.
Sure. Yeah. After he said goodbye to them, he was hanging out. He went back on the couch and he slept. So at some point, they decided either to come back inside the house and hang out for a while, or they went out on the backyard and hung out, which due to the cold temperatures, I don't believe that's the case. I think they probably came back inside and continued to play video games and hang out for a while before they left.
Can you just tell me if there's anything in the backyard of interest? Is there a fire pit? Is there something? Is there a barbecue? Is there something of interest in the backyard that would have drawn them to go there?
I don't know what's in the backyard. I've never been to the house. What I know is what you know from these pictures here. It was a really cold night, so I doubt that anybody would be out there socializing. Typically when guys are hanging out or people are hanging out at the house, people will go outside randomly
Make up your mind, brother.
or do whatever, get some fresh air, and then come back in. Other than that, I can't speculate about what else was going on out there.
So now we've added to the story. Now they left, and then they must have come back, but he was sleeping on the couch. He had no idea. And at some point maybe they were hanging out outside, but that doesn't make sense because it was cold. So they were probably inside playing more video games. Probably, we don't know. I mean, what the hell? Could this guy give a straight story? Even one? Okay. I mean, well, this is ridiculous. I've never seen an attorney come out with so much bullshit in my life. This is ridiculous. And this is, in my opinion, probably why the families don't believe any bit of this bullshit. I'm sorry, folks, but it's bullshit.
So fascinating. John Paserno, I hope you'll come back. And can you just formally put a request into your client, Jordan Willis, that we'd really like to interview with him when he's ready?
Sure. And, he's as much in the dark as you are and as I am, and we all want answers to find out what happened to these lifelong, two of them he went to high school with. So he's known them for over 20 years. They're his friends. He's deeply hurt by their passing, and he wants answers as much as everyone does.
It's heartbreaking for these three families as well. I really appreciate you talking to me tonight. Thank you, John.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you for watching.
Okay, so as you saw, this story is nothing like the story we heard last night, okay? There's more coming because Fox 4, Victoria said it a couple times in chat, is actually covering this. But I wanted you guys to see the difference of stories here, okay? Because this is crazy to me, okay? He goes, first he's in his bedroom, then he goes to the couch, then for the next 2 days, he never left his house, but the day before, or the other interview, he said he was sporadically in and out of the house. Those were the words. And then, okay, mind you, somebody breaks into his home and is yelling for him and anybody else that's there. He doesn't hear that. And then another gentleman beats on the door for 20 minutes, probably like the police would. He doesn't hear that. But then 10 minutes later, the police knock on the door and he hears that. I'm about to call the Scooby Gang for this one, folks. This is interesting to me. And that's what I've heard that, Victoria. I have a couple other thoughts too. After something I looked up last night, it makes some sense, but we'll see. We'll see. We're moving on. Give me a second here. All right. All right, now this dropped last night as well. I'll let you guys check this out. This is new as of last night. So understand this, you guys. Last night we heard this fifth person left at 11:30, 12 o'clock that night, right? He left. Said the guys are great. They were playing dice. Now it comes back that he was there hanging out with them. Okay, after the fact. So here we go.
Hearing from
You hear that clearly, folks. They died and then they froze to death. They didn't freeze to death. That wasn't what caused their demise. Good point, Salty. So I'm gonna put this into a little bit better perspective. Okay. So the scenario here, the guys went to watch this game at a couple different places out and about. They probably went to a few different bars. You know how that goes. Okay. They came back to Jordan's house to hang out, play, after watching football game and this and that and everything. They probably played Madden. We'll just say it that way. um, and hung out for the rest of the night, drinking, doing whatever. It is what it is. Okay. The end of the night gets closer, and this is my theory on this. Okay, but it sounds like it could be pretty close. So it was a whole day, whole night. They're drinking, they're having a good time, just doing what guys do, right? So the end of the night hits, and I'm sure they're getting tired or they're getting whatever. So, in my opinion, I think they all left together, including the fifth guy, and then went somewhere to get something more alcohol, something else. I don't know. You let your minds do the work for you, and then they come back. They're playing more video games, hanging out. Jordan supposedly doesn't know about this. Whether I believe that or not, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Um, these gentlemen are in full control of their own decisions, their own bodies, whatever. Okay. So they left. They went to either go get more alcohol, something else, or something. Okay. Even maybe food, but still came back. Okay. They come back, hanging out more, playing more video games. They definitely weren't playing dice because that was never talked about. It was video games again. So be it. And then they end up outside and they end up deceased. Now, there's certain things that can be ingested into your body that make your body feel not good. I'm not going to claim what they are. You guys can use your imagination, I'm sure. I can imagine that something could have been ingested that would have made them run outside, possibly to need air, oxygen to get themselves together, if you know what I'm saying. Unfortunately, it's very possible that that is what caused them to become unalived. Okay. What's happening, Willie? So that's kind of what my theory is on this, based on what my medical experience is and what I've seen. But again, I struggle to think that this fifth guy and or Jordan Willis had no clue as to what happened. That's just my thought. I could be wrong. Okay, but I think everybody knew what was going on. I have an idea that everybody did, and nobody wanted to be responsible for this. Okay, and people get nervous when things happen. Something looks bad. If it happens at your home or if you're around it, the other guy took off. He could go home. That's that guy's house. And then the guy did move out of the house, within days of this happening. So whether he was planning on that or not, that'll come out eventually. We're not going to know factually what exactly it was that happened until the autopsy and toxicology comes back. But as you all well know, we've talked about this in multiple different cases. As you all well know, there are a lot of different things out there on the street you can pick up, and a lot of them are laced with other things that are very dangerous. Okay. Um, so that being said, if you use your imagination, things can make sense. If that makes sense. I hate to say that like that, but they can. Um, the thing is we're not going to know anything about that, and I don't want to go any deeper into speculation on that until we get an autopsy back and or toxicology. Okay, but it's a sad scenario. It really is. Um, Let me see something here. Okay, this is another drop from the news yesterday. It might have some of the same link to it, but it's supposed to be different. So here we go. But like I said, that was the second part to that first interview we saw. Just there was it's basically the same thing. So I don't like the fact that the attorney, it wasn't even Jordan himself. It was the attorney's story changed. Yeah, that's kind of my thought. I don't know how that would work, Terry. So again, this that could be part of this. Who knows what he was thinking? They did not freeze to death. That's not going to be the cause of death. Okay. I have a feeling that they very possibly, this is just a guess, and I could be wrong. It's just a guess that when we get the autopsy back, that there's going to be something to do with the heart. Okay. And then that's going to be the cause of death per se. And then the hypothermia was the after effect of being outside. That's my thought. Like I said, I feel like something could have happened, and these guys went out there to try to breathe, to get some air. I've seen this happen, and in turn, what I don't understand is it seems almost as if, and this is just my opinion. I'm probably wrong, but this Jordan, I think he knows more than he's letting on to know. Okay, same with the other gentleman that was there. And maybe he's afraid. Maybe he's scared of what the scenario may be for him because of what he knows. Okay. So, well, that's what I'm saying, Clue. The heart was because of something. I think the cause of death is going to be to do with the heart due to something else. Like I said, they all left and came back. They all left for a reason and came back. Okay. They went to go get something, in my opinion. This is just an opinion, folks. There's no fact to back this up. It's just an opinion. That they all left that night. It was late. I don't think they were planning on going anywhere. They were probably just planning on hanging out, partying all night. Okay. But these guys are in their mid to late 30s at this point. They're not young anymore. We all know how that goes. And everything is dangerous, guys. You can't go get things that you don't know what you're getting and not know what it could have in it and so on and so forth. And that seems to happen a lot, you guys. It's scary, in my opinion. Anything can be picked up, not knowing what's in it or what it is per se. And I think that could have been the end of it. Okay. But I do feel that this homeowner knows more than he's saying. That's all I'm saying. Um, so hold on a minute. I know there's a few peeps that wanted to say some stuff. So let me put that. There's a link. Come on up. And then once we get through this, we're going to move into what's going on in Delphi. We're also going to talk about, I'm going to show you guys the documents in Idaho. There's not much to it, guys. That's why I'm saving it for last. It's just more standardized stuff, but I still want to give it to you and explain it to you. So anybody wants to jump up with me, come on up here. There's the link. Let's talk about it because I think a few of us have the same theory. But again, we're not going to be able to prove any of this until we get an autopsy and a toxicology back. So we can still talk about it though. Because like I said, things have changed since last night when we talked about it, if you know what I mean. Welcome, Mr. Friday. Good to see you. Look at that.
Oh man, my new avatar isn't up.
Yeah, it is.
No, I got the new one, the clown one.
Oh,
Oh
well,
my
the
God.
asshole badge is up there. Welcome,
What up,
guys.
y'all?
Billy, what's up? Good to see you, Sarge. Clue,
Long time no talk, Diggo. Clue.
yes, sir.
Oh, Willie.
Saj.
What up? What up?
Asshole
Nice.
merit badge.
I agree with you, Clue, on what your theory is. I just said I think that it caused when they possibly did that, it caused something else to happen, which is going to be the actual cause of death. The manner of death is going to be what you stated in the chat, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like,
Fentanyl
Yeah.
overdose.
or
Well, I don't want to say that per se, Sarge.
But that is the most common, the most common consequences from today's modern drugs.
Well, based on my knowledge,
Right.
I'm going to
Mhm.
say there's that F word out there on the street is the most popular thing right now. Okay, and they put that F stuff in everything now.
Yeah.
Everything you can
Even
go,
cocaine.
you can go pick up the powder stuff, Willie, and
Oh, I'm sorry. Cocaine now.
you don't know what exactly is going to be in it. Okay, you can go get opiates. You don't know what's going to be in those. You can go get anything. You don't know what it's going to have in it. So the most popular thing right now is the F thing, and it's been being put in everything, including the powdery stuff. Okay. And that's the problem. It never fails. That's the problem, guys. Is that the F stuff is typically almost always possibly lethal. Go ahead and
Yeah.
talk. Just give me 1 second.
But we're doing it to ourselves because we're allowing so much to come over the border. I mean, in tons, in tons and tons and tons of it. I mean, how do we expect it not to be in everything?
yeah, I
That is a
agree with
problem.
that.
But I also think that as we interact with each other on these streams, it's more often than not that you go after the guy because he's a scientist, you go after the cop because they dropped him off, you go after you go after all these ancillary things when the truth is generally right under your nose. And we never talk about the lessons that need to be learned. When people make decisions that are bad things happen, right? And rather than us ever discussing stuff like that, we're told we're victim shaming, when that really isn't the case at all.
I
That's
agree with
part of the
that.
story. And if that is a real part of this story, serious discussions should be had about that. And you're not disrespecting the people that
No, exactly.
have gone, right?
I don't understand the whole victim blaming victim. I mean, even all those terminologies, when this is the true crime community, of course we're going to use terms like that. Like, what the hell do you expect? This isn't sport. We're not talking about sports. We're not talking about politics. We're talking about people losing their lives and people witnessing stuff and there being, multiple. I don't see it as disrespect at all. We're talking about what's happening.
The way I view it, the person that was in that home ended up taking the same thing those other three did. His result was different. I suspect that may have some validity. He may be lucky to be alive compared to his three friends. Right?
Well, what is he saying they took?
There's people out there trying to imply that he's a chemist. Maybe he made something and poisoned these people, which is just,
oh God.
My point is that when a situation is given to us like this, there's a lot of things that you can surmise from it, but it seems the first thing we do is to try to find how these people were victimized rather than that they had any part in it at all. And that's just to me it's not logical.
Yeah, well, I don't think if they were friends for that long, I don't think that's logical in my opinion. I wouldn't go there.
Something tragic happened here, folks. There's no doubt about it. Epically tragic to the families, to the friends, to that neighborhood, to us. It's horrible to see three healthy adult men that probably have families of their own lose their lives like that. But we also have to be tough enough on our skin to realize that the decisions that they may have partook in, this is the result.
But do we know that they partook in something? Like, what'd they do?
Well, no, but let's be fair. Wouldn't it make more sense that if they didn't die from just straight up hypothermia, that something incapacitated them and they froze to death through that incapacitation? So what would that be in today's world? Is it a UFO or Bigfoot or fentanyl? I mean, it's not
three at the same time. Three at the same time is.
Well, you don't know they all went down at this. They all may have been struggling. They may all have been struggling, but not all. They didn't click off at the same time.
But that means they all would have had to have done it at the same time,
Right.
and not one by one, because then if one of them had a reaction to it,
Right.
you figure the other two aren't going to.
If you're
touch that
passing
shit.
lines and you chop up lines on a countertop and you each take a sniff of that line, you got your own lines cut. You're all we all.
But that's what I'm saying.
Right? I mean,
Usually you
it's not
pass
like
it
they were
around,
taking
but
turns. They weren't playing pong, right? We didn't hear. But my point is that when we interact with drugs, if we're smoking weed or if we're doing lines or whatever it is we're doing, it's
All right, guys. Sorry
usually
about that.
it's set up at a table. I used to cut lines on a table, and 4 or 5 of us would each do our line.
Mhm.
And
yeah, back when blow was
think
actually blow. Now it's cut with fentanyl and whatever else.
right now the danger of death is just there. And
Well,
here's the thing.
That's the biggest problem is that's like I said, everything has it in it now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's typically fatal.
Well, Dago, where did you grow up, if you don't mind me asking you?
Warren, Ohio.
Okay, did you have like a town crackhead, like every other town has, or no?
We had many of them.
Okay, so like where I grew up, there was a town crackhead, and he was around forever. He's still around, and people smoke crack, and nobody was dying in the streets. This shit is killing everybody. Everybody.
Because it was just what it was back then, Willie. It didn't have all this extra crap in it. And now you listen, guys. I know a couple medics, EMTs, that one guy in particular, and actually a police officer that touched somebody that did this stuff, and he went and he overdosed from touching this person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's scary right there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What if you know somebody what if you're in a grocery store and somebody does this and you happen to brush against this person and get this on you and it happens to you? That's like, what?
Well, think about this. What if somebody wants to be very, really sinister and go to a, bar or diner or something and sit at a couple tables and put it in the salt shaker? Okay. And then the people who use that salt, you know what I mean? You could literally, it could be put in anything. And that's what's scary when it's coming over in tons.
They're selling it and it looks like candy now too, Willie. They did a thing at my son's school, and an anti-drug scenario, so on and so forth, and just say no, all that stuff, which is great. I talked to my kid myself, and they brought home flyers and stuff, and it looks like a bag of Smarties is what it looked like. Different colors, all different colors. It looks good to the kids, of course, because it's colorful, and it's like, whoa,
Jesus.
You know what I mean? And kids don't know. Thank God we have the ability to tell our kids, you don't take anything that anybody, I don't give a shit if it's Tylenol. I better get a phone call and I better know what it is. And that's just that. That's all I'm saying. So
yeah,
it's dangerous.
So in the chat room, they're saying we don't know the cause of death, and that's absolutely true. We do not.
We don't,
know.
and I'm not saying.
However, we all can pretty much agree that these 3 men didn't go outside and just sit there until they froze to death.
They did not. They did not do that. I'm telling you.
Something preceded that situation, and if we're going to be honest with ourselves, with the limited info we have from the scene, is it more sensible to suggest that the scientist cooked up something to kill his friends?
No,
or is it more likely that they're friends, and even possibly him? The reason this man may not have answered his door for a day and a half or done anything is he may have experienced the same toxic results that they did. And the only difference between the renter and the other 3 was he passed out on the couch. You see, he stayed in room temperature, or if he would have went outside with them, he may have been the 4th victim.
Or he didn't get a lethal dose of it, possibly.
Or he didn't get a lethal dose, but he got a dose strong enough to incapacitate them. Their dose may not have been lethal either, but it may have incapacitated them long enough for hypothermia to take them.
Right.
We don't know, but it makes more sense than suggesting that the scientist guy there that did work with HIV stuff created some chemical to kill his friend. There's some nefarious deed where people came in and murdered them 3,
Yeah, I don't think
that was going around originally. That's how people were dealing.
Kansas City won the game. He had no reason to kill him.
Well, I definitely don't think it had anything to do with that. I think that they left. Like I said, my theory, and it's just an opinionated theory, is that they left. They wanted to do this all night. They wanted to have a good time. The team won. Everybody was partying, celebrating, having a great time. They left. They went to get something. I don't know what. and they came back, and it didn't work out for them. And again, I know reactions that people have to certain things. That one specific thing that was being talked about, I'm not saying that's what it was, folks. It's just a possible guess. Will make you feel like you can't, your heart doesn't accept it. It doesn't work right with it.
You just go
Okay,
to sleep. You just nod off, and then you just stop breathing.
You can't breathe. Okay, and the first thing that you do when you can't breathe is you go find somewhere where you think there's more oxygen or more air. It's a natural instinct. Okay, yeah, they probably ran outside thinking that we need to cool off, need to breathe. It just didn't happen, unfortunately.
Now, how far apart were each of them found? Like,
we don't know that. For one of them was on the back porch, on the back patio, and they said that he was found slumped over as if he was sleeping.
It's a terrible
the other two were in the yard.
Jesus mighty.
In today's world, the tragedies on bad decisions are lethal.
That comment right there from Virginia, I don't think it was deliberate either, folks. I don't think that was foul play. I think that it was an accidental experience. That
bad decisions made to do things,
which, to be honest, is deliberate. Whoever sold it to him.
Well,
maybe not.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, whoever sold them to him, you could. I mean, when I was in a joint way back for my daughter and stuff, there was a guy in there who he was. I think he was looking at like at least 20 years because he sold somebody heroin and they died from it, and he's getting charged with murder. So, like, if you sell somebody drugs, you get charged with murder.
That's true. That fifth man appears to have. Now, I listened to those videos and I surmised that four people left that house together, and the fifth man dropped them back off to that home. That's my summation. It could be. It's a theory. I don't know.
Well, he just said
he agrees with everything.
I was hanging out with him.
What?
They just said in that one video that guy continued to hang out with them that night after they came back. So he left at some point, either when
then maybe he went to go get the drugs and came back,
or hung out for a little while and he didn't touch them. Maybe that's possible too. Not everybody does, and it was stated that one of these guys didn't do any of that stuff. So we don't know. We don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just saying
the police and the authorities and people do things that we interpret immediately as them doing stupid things or being corrupt. And in the Eyes case, and that poor woman, Donna Cross, whatever her name is. And in this case, I think we're too quick to jump to explain things. And we always err on the side of the cops did it. The cops screwed up. This guy screwed up. Somebody did.
I agree.
We're looking for the unfortunately the real victims that are deceased. We're looking for an outside source to go after rather than sticking with what the information shows us.
Nobody wants to look at the fact that the victims themselves could have done something possible that could have put themselves in danger. So therefore, nobody wants to see or hear it in that sense, and you sugarcoat things because we feel bad for the victims themselves. In specific cases. In this case, I think this was just an accidental scenario. I don't know. Yeah, I could be completely wrong, and there could be some serious foul play. We don't know yet. I'm just saying an autopsy and toxicology is going to answer every bit of the questions, in my opinion. Right. I just don't like the fact that this attorney, this greasy-ass guy, is flip-flopping his stories all over the place.
He's the third-party purview of information. How accurate and how consistent do you think he's going to be when?
No, I agree that in that sense, but don't just come out with it. Don't change your story 3 different times, bro. Say it, walk away from it, and that's the end of it. And it makes his client look bad, in my opinion. So I don't know. That's my thought on this personally. I could be completely wrong, and I'll sit right here in front of you guys and say, guys, I was completely wrong. Sorry. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, well, to be honest, it could be anything. I mean, we don't know. I know what you're saying, Sarge, but again, we don't know, if this guy snapped or something and made, some Kool-Aid with a little bit of, something in it. And there you go. But again, I'm not jumping to that conclusion, but it's a possibility.
If we try to be fair and balanced, right, or fair and honest, then the scene as it presents itself doesn't in any way, shape, or form immediately run the first thought should be somebody killed him, right?
No,
not in today's day and age. We're living in 2024. We know a little bit of that fentanyl can wipe out anybody, right? And so
the three dead people is very Is
Let me
three,
please.
the
Here's
fact
the
that
thing,
nobody had Narcan on them. I mean, if like
They're
the
not
fourth guy.
regular users of drugs. Most likely,
That's
these guys
the thing.
got
So that's what I
together to
mean.
unwind.
So that's what I mean. Were they trying to get the stuff that gets you uppity? That would be the only substance that they would be going after. What
Thought was let's stay up all night and party. So what do you need for that? You know what I'm
Exactly.
talking about.
Yeah.
Booger sugar.
Yeah, there you
Booger sugar. There you
powder
go.
time.
Well,
That's all I'm saying is you go look, and it's been known around here very badly around here for that stuff to be completely a problem with that. Okay, and they've even found, you guys, I hate to say this, it's sad. Marijuana has been found to have that in it at this point. Like,
yeah.
it's that bad of a scenario right now. Everywhere, and everything you touch. So
I
And
gotta get your
I
medical
think it's
card.
only fair that particular knowledge be used to view some of the things we're seeing. Not that it's the only answer, but it is a highly probable and likely answer to what we're looking at.
and I'm gonna say,
Time will tell.
I'm gonna make a statement too, based off of what Michelle here just said. He worked on vaccines, etc., and was very intelligent. I can almost bet you guys, that being known, the fact that he's a chemist and he knows how things are, I bet you that guy didn't touch any of it. If that's the case, I bet you he
Probably
didn't.
not. No, you're
Okay.
probably right.
Which is why
Them nerdy geek guys will party with you too. Come on.
well, at this point though, I'm going to say he probably didn't, because he's probably annoyed knowing what could be in that. Okay, that's just a thought, folks. I'm not saying it's true. Again, just think about it. Thank you, Zelda, for that. I appreciate that very much. I'm just saying, okay, but I'm going to venture to say that when we do get an autopsy, it's going to have something heart related, and that's going to be due to, when we get to toxicology, we'll get that too.
Did people pay attention to the fact that he works at home and his office contained a laptop, computer, and virtually nothing else? He was not working in a laboratory mixing chemicals.
There was no.
That was
lab
not what this man
there.
was doing, folks.
No, he was
Okay.
doing the inside stuff. Maybe,
Well,
formulating.
Listen,
formulating.
a lot of things get crunched on a computer. You run simulations, you run tests. You don't necessarily need to do that with chemicals, right? They predict the orbit of planets and they predict the orbit of the universe based on computer models. You could do the same thing with drug research, folks.
That's what they do.
This
That's
man
what
was
they
in
do.
his home working. That's his job. And in the basement, they showed you his workplace, and it showed a computer desk with a laptop, a bigger, nice laptop sitting on it. So
Yeah, I mean,
he isn't
I
a
don't.
chemist per se.
I do not, and this is just me. Doesn't mean everybody has to agree with me. I do not suspect Jordan Willis
Neither do I.
doing anything nefarious, other than possibly knowing what may have went down that night and just kept quiet about it because he was scared. That's all. I don't think he did anything personally. Okay.
I do.
No, I mean, I don't think he did anything to them personally.
No, I think he participated in the drug use, and that's why he was out for over a day.
I mean, it's possible, but
It would explain his delay, unlike Dylan.
the only thing is, Sarge, as much as I know about that stuff, if all three of them, if they got into the same mixture, we'll just say, they should have all had the same outcome, in my opinion. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, there's always that outlier, right? I mean, nothing's ever in stone. And there's always that oddball thing that happens that nobody accounts for. So you could be correct, or maybe he did half a line, he didn't do a full line.
Well, and again, we don't know.
You know?
We have to clarify this. We don't know that there
There
was
could be any drugs involved at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know that yet. That's just a theory, guys. But at some point, it's going to come out, and I'm just saying that's what my guess is going to be. And I think I think the three that are deceased, it's going to be heart related due to something like that.
I'd like to know if they drew blood from the guy that was the renter. Did they draw his blood for a toxicology exam?
They probably won't until they get. Well, no, I would doubt it. They have no reason to, because he's okay. So there's no reason to do that.
But
So this guy waited a whole day to contact the authorities, you're saying?
2 days.
2 days.
Oh.
And
That's
he
why
didn't-
I have. That's what
He didn't do it. The fiance did. He didn't call.
Oh my God.
And then the fiance broke into the house, went through. She found the one gentleman dead on the back porch, yelled throughout the house for this guy. He never answered. Another gentleman beats on the door for 20 minutes. He never answered. And then the cops show up, and all of a sudden, surprise, he answers with an empty wine glass in his boxer shorts. So
Yeah. See, now I don't believe. Yeah. See, now I'm on the other end because you're not going to do a line and be passed out for 2 days. Sorry. If you shoot it, maybe, but you're not going to be passed out for 2 days. Not happening.
The thing is the empty wine glass threw me a little bit too. Like, well, I mean, okay. And then the U-Haul a few days later, the guy's moving out. That's a little shifty to me, but I mean, maybe he was moving already. We don't know. I don't know at this point. I just have to say there is a possibility something nefarious could have happened. But
yeah, but if we're going to give Dylan shit for 8 hours, how are we not going to give this guy shit for 2 days?
Because I mean, situational circumstances are different in every aspect. You got to understand that. But it just looks that the guys. I mean, what if? Okay, two of the guys he went to high school with, he was very close to. The other guy he knew he was very close to, and we looked him up last night and kind of noticed he's been in that area pretty much multiple addresses. Multiple addresses we
moved
found
around the country to California and Florida, but it was all through tech industries with biochemicals, biochemistry, and
probably schooling and stuff like that.
And he lived in that neighborhood at 4 different addresses. He lived in that area.
Yeah. Now, the nefarious thing, in my opinion, is that I think that he knew what was going down and was ignoring it, thinking he was going to be able to get out of it somehow. That's the nefarious side of things. That's definitely nefarious to me, period.
Yeah, that's a pretty good friend, huh?
That's what I'm saying. That's the thing that it's like, I don't know if that was based on panic. Was it panic because he was scared to death of what was going to happen to him? So let's pretend I don't know it. That's dumb, but some people don't think that way. The whole thing is screwy. And
but wouldn't he think, oh, if I wait 2 days, I'll be in more trouble than if I just call right away and the cops will see that they passed away from an overdose and it obviously wasn't me? Why? How would he wait 2 days? Even if he's scared, if he's that smart of a guy, everybody's saying.
This down here, what she just put up, she said she looked up, and I kind of gathered that thinking with the wine glass thing. Jordan Willis criminal history, and it really says he's an alcoholic. Lots of DUI and public intox charges, and that's all I'm starting to think is alcohol related. Well, if the dude's an alcoholic, he was passed out for 2 days drinking. Okay, maybe he did a little bit of everything and just slept through it. I mean, the attorney said he was going about his business throughout his house for the next 2 days. Bullshit. There's windows. We looked at the inside and outside of the house yesterday. There's windows all through that house. You would have seen snow or no snow on top of them. Hey, Brandy, you'd have seen them somehow. I'm going to guess, okay? Or seen the vehicles. I just, that part of it I don't believe. I think he's lying on that end. That's me. But
I think he's guilty as sin. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, that's your opinion, brother. He's guilty. He's definitely guilty of that, in my opinion. That's just, what I think.
He's guilty as 2 days? No, that's not a friend.
Well, if somebody comes in your house.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. Okay. I invite 3 of my friends over. Okay.
That's not what I mean. Somebody breaks in your house, dude, and they're yelling for you and beating on your door.
Yeah.
And then you don't get up until all of a sudden it's a police knock. You looked out the window and saw the damn cruiser and said, hey, I better go answer this one. That's my thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same thing. Bombshell just said the same thing happened in last week in Palomita, California. 4 men were found dead at a home, 2 outside in the backyard and 2 inside. 3 of the men in their 30s, 1 in his 50s or 60s.
Did they have
a point out? And I think Clue and Dago, as we talked about it last night, is what would be the most obvious situation here? That doesn't mean it's the only potential outcome.
Yeah.
Or the only way things can happen. But
what was the outcome
pretty
from
obvious
that
there was some kind of chemical involved here. And how it got involved, we don't know. How this guy was able to not see things for 2 days, we don't know. And there's either he's just a bad friend or a scumbag and a killer, or which seems kind of unlikely, or he himself suffered the effects of drug abuse and was out.
Anybody it's possible.
Right.
Bombshell. And Bombshell says that it's drug use suspected. I mean, that's my thought on that. The same thing. And Val says,
this guy is an interesting person. Did that 5th guy bring the drugs? Was he the supplier of whatever took place in that house? Was he a person? We don't know. But if there were drugs involved, what's his role in it? Why did he leave? And then
know who he is.
Back. Where did they go when they left? Did they go to get something? They made a bad decision.
Why
It
has
looks
that? Why has that fifth guy not stepped forward to make a statement to the other
He-
families and friends and say, "Hey, I was there and I'm here now," and
Well, because he's scared. Remember, everybody's scared.
that's the other
I
guy.
don't
That's
know
what
if
I'm
he's
saying. I
scared.
think he's afraid of the outcome that he's going to end up with.
So if I could, ooh, this is a lot of testosterone right now. So
You love it.
anyway, if I could just say something, if
Mm.
this guy is truly an alcoholic, I'm talking about the one who lived at the house.
Jordan, yeah.
He works at home, which a lot of times those people truly make their own schedule.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He may have just they won the playoff game, y'all. He could have just went on like a 2-day drinking binge and just
Mhm.
been out of it, truly out of it.
For those 2 days, I agree. I agree.
And never looked outside, ever.
I mean,
And if he was passed out for 2 days,
Dude, nobody's passed out for 2. If he's an alcoholic, then why would he be passed out for 2 days? He's used to it.
Can I
Like,
ask you a question? Isn't it true that they found him at 10 a.m. on Tuesday morning?
no, 10
No.
p.m. 10 p.m. that
Jesus.
night. She
All
went
right,
over
so-
there that night.
So they partied all night on Sunday, and this guy lost all of Monday. And he, for all we know, he could have lost most of Tuesday. And when he got up, this is wintertime, it gets dark earlier.
So I guess
Yeah.
he
But
doesn't have
here's the
work.
thing, we just don't know. To
I
say
mean-
that he's innocent or guilty of anything, it's just we have no clue.
So he
Yeah.
didn't have a job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
worked.
worked
He
from
worked,
home.
but he made his
worked
own
in his
schedule.
basement.
So that's what I mean. So if he's sleeping for 2 days, he missed work.
No.
Again, he probably made his
Yeah.
own schedule, like she said.
Yeah, like I mean, if so, like we work from home, right? Fiance and I, like if we're not in the middle of something, we're not on a call or something, we're doing whatever the hell we want to do.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much, yeah. I'm sure it could come back completely different. We just don't know. That's all. We're gonna have to wait. One, for the autopsy is the most important thing, in my opinion. That's going to show the cause of death, and then toxicology very well could show the mode of death. Or manner of death. We don't know that yet, but it could be something completely different, you guys.
And I know
But
it sounds crazy that there were cars outside and stuff like that. Let me tell you something. Like we don't never look outside our house out the front door ever. We don't ever do it. Like we don't even walk to our driveway literally unless we're going to get in the car.
But as these people are running out of the house dying, where is he?
Apparently asleep on the couch.
Oh, okay.
That's what they say.
Well, I've been hearing a lot of things, and
Or
like I said,
passed maybe
nobody's making this many. We're not making this many excuses for Dylan Mortensen because it doesn't make sense.
Or the other side of it is he was sitting right there watching them run out of the house.
Exactly. So then, right there, you dial that. If those are your friends and you see them overdosing, unless you're the one that supplied this, okay, we also haven't spoke about that. Maybe he sells. Remember, anything is possible here. Then what are you afraid to call 911 for? If you want them saved, if they're dying and they can get there and hit them with Narcan and bring them back to life, then
Maybe this guy's a chemist, right?
Yeah,
that's a high profile job, high paying job.
Mhm.
Maybe the dude's worried about losing his job because of what the involvement with this was,
Yeah, but at some point he would have to face it. You know what I mean, Dago?
Well,
No.
again, go ahead, Clue.
The most suspect part is his lawyer and even him not having his story straight. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, and that's a big one for me. The guy's an attorney. He's supposed to be the spokesperson for this guy. And let's go back to the fact the dude's an alcoholic. Maybe he wasn't thinking clearly because he was drunk, and he's always drunk. But it's not an excuse. It's just a possibility.
Well, again, and I don't know if they ran outside or not. I was just going by what you guys were saying when people, are overdosing and they need air, or whatever, and they would
Yeah.
run outside. That's why I said that. We don't know shit, so we're all just spitball.
There's definitely something weird going on, and I'm not saying that something nefarious didn't happen, guys. I hope that it didn't, because these people were all friends. Thank you so much
Yeah, right, Eddie.
for becoming a member. I appreciate you, and welcome to the community. Appreciate you very much. He got very tired while they were dying. He was mostly Yeah, there
but
you
he's
go.
right. I mean, think of
There
how
you go.
silly that sounds. You know,
It is. It's stupid. I know it is. But again, it's just. I mean, I cannot picture the dude going rampant and purposely trying to unalive these people and then just hanging out at the house. You know what I mean?
but let me ask you: was it was 3 men, right? Were they all married?
One had a fiance. I think. I don't know about the other ones. I know the one had the
Okay,
fiance.
so say they were all married, right? Do you think those men's wives would think that the guy who didn't do anything for 2 days did something nefarious,
So
or do you think that
in terms of
they
the
were
2 days,
they were such close friends that no big deal?
this is one thing I think we got to keep in
Hey.
perspective. And I got what's going on, guys? Sorry,
What
I
up,
just sort of jumped
Cletus?
in here out of nowhere.
You don't get excited when I get on.
One thing that I had to get my head around when we were talking about this last night is the actual time frame here, because I was thinking 3 days, and the reality is this happened around, let's say worst case, this happened at midnight on the 8th, so 12 a.m. on the 8th.
Yeah.
This guy started, what we've read says that this guy was aware from at least reading messages on the morning of the night.
Right.
So we're talking about a 24 to 36 hour time period here, worst case, right? And I have personally been in a situation where a guy I had been partying with was missing for 24 hours, probably 36 by the time he actually made contact. And it was literally because he was so intoxicated, he didn't wake up. So, I mean, guy, it is plausible that this guy was out that long.
Especially when in a playoff game, like, the drinks are flowing.
And I'm not.
You passed over the most important point. You passed over your most important point, Cletus.
What's that?
The fact that he was still up 9 o'clock Monday morning also indicates that everybody was still there partying, and he didn't want to respond, and he just didn't respond to the messages. We don't know that they passed away at midnight that night. We just don't know. That's what that one guy was claimed to have, the time he was claimed to have left.
Right. I'm telling y'all right now.
We have no idea when these gentlemen went outside. We have no idea when this took place. It could have been noon that day. It could have been 5 o'clock Monday. We just don't know.
So they're doing blow on.
I don't care. Like, I still say there is something to be said for if it was the fiance of this person, because we already know one family doesn't know anything about the guy. If it's a fiance of this guy, you haven't looked outside, you haven't seen the cars, and you see this girl blowing up your phone. Where is he? You're not, as a dude, you're not going to say nothing to that chick. I'm telling y'all, because you're going to want to help him. You don't know what he's doing. He might be off with a side piece, and you're not going to say anything.
Yeah, the toxicology, the whole case hinges on a toxicology report.
And yes, I do, Mount Man. I am a Bama fan too, so don't go there, bro.
He definitely ain't getting down with the Brown.
Shut it down. Listen, anyway.
Listen, NFL's rigged.
I want to show you guys real quick. This is a police officer that is all he's doing is packing up evidence from like a scenario where he had to confiscate this stuff, okay? And watch this happen to him, like how fast this happens to this guy. He's notice he's wearing gloves, mind you, okay? That's how strong this shit is.
The power of even the smallest touch of fentanyl shown in this video. Watch as a Bartlesville police officer wearing protective gloves is packing up drug evidence believed to be laced with fentanyl when he slowly starts to collapse.
Becoming ill, lightheaded, and actually basically passed out or fell.
Seconds later, a rush of officers coming to the rescue.
I don't know what would have happened had they not acted so quickly.
Sergeant Jim Waring says officers quickly gave him Narcan, which is believed to have saved his life. Police say this is the first time they've had to deal with something like this, where they had to give one of their own officers Narcan.
Really fortunate that, one, we had this available to us, and two, that our officers really adhere to the training.
Where his hands at on his chest.
Another layer to the opioid epidemic, and an eye-opening to what
labored breathing, incapacitation.
He's grabbing his chest because
the officer may not
that's
be
where it hit.
dealing with an individual. all the evidence and
It is
things
poison,
that we handle on a day-to-day
and it will kill
basis,
you.
that can harm you too.
I'm not saying that's what this was, but thought process.
But here's my question. Like you said earlier, okay, if fentanyl is in everything today, and obviously let's just say these three individuals obviously partook in this, I'm guessing more than just that night. Okay, you would think that one of them would carry Narcan on them for that,
Maybe not.
emergency.
Yeah.
No, maybe not. But I'm saying you would think if they're always doing that one of them would have it on there because, like you said, drug users know that fentanyl is put in everything. So it's just odd that nobody had anything on them.
In my circle of friends where I do a lot of drag racing and car stuff, there's times where I end up in a situation where someone's pulling out weed and rolling joints, and that's not consistent with the group of guys that I normally hang out with, but the group is bigger than just the guys I know because they know guys, right? So when you end up at the racetrack and you walk into a trailer to shoot the shit with your buddies, and there's some guy in there doing a line, it's not my thing. But also just keep in mind that when we go out as a group of men, we'll make decisions, okay, and do things that aren't normal. We're not addicts. But we're going to do a couple of lines. We're going to play some video games. It's going to be awesome. It's something that could come to pass with just right. Because I've seen guys that don't smoke weed. I've never seen them smoke weed, but they're in the trailer. There they are taking a hit off a joint. Right. I mean, these guys I know, I've never seen them smoke weed before, but two of them are there. They're hitting off the same. They're sharing the joint with the guy. My point is, when we get together to do things, sometimes we make decisions and choices that we normally wouldn't make in our daily lives.
Right. And what keeps you up when you want to stay up all night long and you want to keep buzzing and going and feeling good?
Best thing is crap.
Hot Pockets.
Well, it's Hot Pockets. But you know what I'm saying. So I mean, it's an epidemic, folks. It's bad, and it's everywhere at this point, and it's bad.
And it's not. That's what I mean. This could be a fully non-nefarious situation that just 100%. Got the tragedy that it is. It's like, look at poor Donna. Horrific fucking ending of something that these guys didn't have any intent, and they weren't playing in a dirty field where they could step on needles. They were out there enjoying themselves after the game and possibly partying. We don't know until the tox comes back. But that does fit the scene, even though there's some irregularities to it. But that's the problem when you do drugs. You don't know how a person is going to or not going to react to it.
And back in the 80s and the 90s, when people would go find this stuff, that wasn't a worry then. I'm going to get a little bit of this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to party all night long, and everything will be great. I might not feel the best tomorrow, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. This was never an issue back then. You know what I mean? And a lot of people that did it back then don't realize what's going on right now because they haven't, some people did it back in the 90s and the 80s, and then they grew up. We'll just say it that way. And it's like, hey, let's party, guys. We ain't done this in 25 years. What's his name down the street does this and that. We can get some from him and we can stay up all damn night and blah, 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 blah. Let's do it. Well, guess what? It's different now than it was 25 years ago. And now you got to worry about that. A lot of people don't even believe that or not. I know it's hard to believe, but people don't realize that it's even in all of that stuff now.
Yeah, but what you just said, Dago, I'm imagining four guys, around a table saying, yeah, we haven't done this in so long. Let's do it. Yeah. But the fourth guy who didn't do it, fell asleep while everybody was, passing it around or whatever you want to say. That's what I can't get past is okay.
You don't know that he didn't do it though.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he have been a participant?
He may have done it and not got a bad, maybe he didn't do as much.
He may have done a little of it and then said, and then realized this ain't for me. I'd rather have alcohol and went and laid down.
There you go. And
while his friends are dying.
He would see it's possible. So you're suggesting this guy was fully conscious and aware and watched his friends run outside and die and did nothing.
Maybe he did.
I find
he became, but like I say, he became fully conscious when the police came, right?
After 2 days.
After 2 days, bro. Yeah, I just find that to be a little off the hook when it comes to the situation we're looking at.
Like I say, he's going to be locked up. Just wait.
We'll see. It's very possible he could have done something, but it's possible he couldn't have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can go both ways at this point. It's a sad scenario, regardless of what anybody says. What I feel bad for is if it was that, if that's what the actual issue is with those guys, It was an innocent night that they were trying to enjoy, and this is how it ended. And that's what's sad nowadays, is that
Right.
everything has become what this is. You know what I mean?
This happens all the time, and there's no intentional murder or intentional nefarious behavior on any of the participants. It's just bad decisions, whether it be in a group or an individual. Right.
Yeah.
And that's happening more and more often, because you're right, Willie. The tons of shit they're letting across that border is killing us. It's like they're waging war against us through drugs.
And the people. Look at the 8 people that were just killed in Texas.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true too. It's very scary, guys. It's very
but people think it's not like real. Dago. People don't understand the magnitude of
experience, because they don't experience it.
Exactly. You know,
and
until it's in front of them, and then it's a problem.
It should be focused on the consequences of the people's choices, not to degrade the person that's passed, but to emphasize to people just how dangerous your choices can be when it comes to anything connected to drugs.
That's a fact. It needs to be seen for what it is.
I understand that there's a possibility of nefarious activity having a role in this, but I think if you look at it from a 10,000-foot view and look down, I think it's most likely that the nefarious incident was bad decisions, sadly. And this is the result. And that's the message. People need to know just how deadly our decisions can be today.
Bingo. That's fact. I agree with that.
If it's a nefarious situation and it involves some kind of drug, well, there again, it's still, you better make good decisions with the friends you keep, because some of them might slip you something and you end up dead.
And some of them might wait 2 days.
When you see things like this right here, that tells you how dangerous a situation is. When you can't even be a law enforcement officer, a paramedic, an EMT, and go and help somebody to save their life without worrying about dying yourself.
And look how quick they have to respond to this guy.
Thank God they're not doing this anymore.
To save these folks. The response time of the police for that man in the station and this man has to be immediate. You can't screw around.
Yeah. And like I said, all this guy did, look what he's doing. All he did was he's testing it to see what it is. Gloves or no gloves. That's how strong this shit is. Look, boom, there he goes. Just like that. And all he did was dump it in a scale to check it. Just drops immediately. And he was literally touching it for what? I don't know, 30 seconds?
Now, was there like a statement or confirmation that it was from that and not something like heart related?
Nothing. What, from this? Yeah, that's what this was. That's why they put
this. Only because I saw one with a female officer that kind of like the same thing happened, but it turned out that it wasn't from the drugs.
I know what you're talking about.
That's fast as hell, dude. You know what I mean? That's like.
Look what he says. This is what we were talking about in the chat room last night. I said they may have gone to the outside to try to get air. Look what he's saying. They're he was gasping for breath. I couldn't breathe.
Because what it does, you guys, for those that don't understand, is it takes it. Okay. When you're having a heart attack, okay, your heart constricts and it cuts off the oxygen. Basically, it feels like you can't breathe. What this does is it goes directly to your heart and just boom, immediately. Okay. And basically explodes your heart in a sense. You're not breathing. You can't breathe. So the immediate reaction to somebody is to, like, if you're indoors, okay, if you're indoors, is to run to where you think you're going to be able to breathe, which would be outdoors. Okay. Or like,
well, even simpler. Doesn't that explain the separation of the 3 individuals? Wouldn't it explain why they were all in individual locations, 2 out in the yard, 1 sitting in a chair? It fits.
To me, really I agree.
Now, does that mean it's the fact? No, but it does fit the circumstances that we've been given.
Sticking to my guns.
Willie.
Nah, that dude, something ain't right with him.
It's either him or the other guy.
Somebody.
One that left or whatever said he saw them. They were playing dice or whatever when he left.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, who's to say?
I'll be right back.
Let's talk here. Who's to say that, after Dylan Mortensen saw, say, Brian, she locked her door, that she didn't do a line to relax and she passed out for 8 hours. And that's why she woke up at noon. Because like I said, this is the excuses we're making up for this guy here. So that's what I mean. Like if we're going to do it over here, if people do it over here, we can't really get upset.
Well,
You're mistaking an excuse because you have this thought that this guy had to be doing something wrong. And what we're not doing is making an excuse for him. We're showing a potential situation that includes all parties. Someone had to bring the drugs to the house. Could it have been the scientist? Sure could.
But that's fine. But the coincidence of him waking up on a door knock and not somebody breaking in, yelling, doing whatever to get his attention, that is just normal to everybody. And except, a few people. Like how?
We're saying it's normal. We're saying that it's possible with that kind of a drug use. With that fentanyl, anything is possible, from death to incapacitation for God knows how long, to brain damage. There's all kinds of consequences from these drugs. And 4 people, 3 of them obviously were hit hard, and it took him down. It may have took him down too, but remember the difference between his location of going down and theirs is unique. He was left in a heated home. They were outside in the cold.
Yeah.
So there's a uniqueness here in location. And nobody's saying that we're right and you're wrong.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just trying to figure it out.
No, until more evidence appears, if we want to make any fair sense out of it, let's start with drugs and then the roles everybody played. Let the information. It's got to come to us. We just don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
we do know for 100% fact that they weren't shot or stabbed, right?
No.
Well,
yeah.
There's been no charges levied against it being a crime, and that's the other thing. Like a lot of people are the cops need to do. Cops need to be fair, but no, they don't need. They need to follow regimented rules and systems to produce the information, whether they charge you with a crime or not.
Police said that
there hasn't resulted in that.
Yeah, police said there was no sign of foul play, which would eliminate, in my opinion, weaponry or of any sort whatsoever being used on these guys. And like I said, the homeowner said, well, they froze to death, which I thought.
We know the autopsies were performed because the coroner said herself that she had to wait for these men to thaw out.
Yeah.
These people were frozen. Frozen, folks. They weren't limp. They were frozen. They were frozen. Okay.
Well, hold on. Did you catch that, Dago? I saw this interview today with another guy, and he was like, my friends were dead before they were frozen. They did not freeze. So I'm like, do you have like inside information from the autopsy?
That was the one that we saw today earlier, just a little bit ago. He said they didn't freeze to death. They were dead before.
Right. They didn't die from exposure. They died from whatever took them down. And then they were out there long enough to completely freeze.
And that's Jesse. That's what I said too. This guy's lawyer is making him look way worse than he already.
See, I need to go watch that now because I'm sure it's going to even strengthen my opinion of what I feel right now.
Well, I
haven't seen that
here.
Yeah, I got a little late.
That lawyer's delivering third-party information like he shouldn't be delivering first-party information.
Yeah, he's changed.
I shouldn't be telling you his name. He probably get his own name wrong. He's an idiot.
Yeah, well, he hired the wrong lawyer.
The guy's a joke. Like I said, the greasy ass, whatever he is, he's just a joke.
Well, on the other side of the coin, too, imagine if this scientist was and the other guy were participants in this, and their 3 best friends are gone now. They got to live. Let's say there is no nefariousness here. They got to live with that the rest of their lives.
Understand something, everybody, before of anything. We don't know that any of the conversation we just had that was theory even had anything to do with this at this point yet. But I'm just saying, as a guess, based on what we know, I said when the autopsy and toxicology comes back, I guessed that could possibly be something that is involved, is what I'm saying. So everybody understands.
Yeah, but there can only be, I mean, if you think about it, there can only be a handful of things if it's not a shooting or stabbing or, they don't think there's any foul play. It could be, it's either an overdose of something or a poison of something that, is untraceable or whatever.
Poisoning, I agree.
What else? Strangulation. But then there would be signs of that, so maybe not. So again, there's not really too many.
That's why I did to that. That's what I mean. Because they would have noticed or mentioned strangulation. Asphyxiation could be part of what I said. There was nothing that relates to any kind of nefarious physical act on them that would have constituted foul play. We know that already. So when you do that, you deduct everything else and say, okay, what else could this possibly be? And the fact that all 3 of them we're gonna have to see what the autopsy says as far as time of death, but I'm gonna venture to say that it was right around within each other. Okay, so that you deduct that then, and you're like, okay, what could cause all three of them to go at this? And they were a couple of them were pretty big guys, so I would imagine, they're gonna take certain things like pretty well. That stuff, I don't care who you are. The Hulk, they could drop the Hulk. Okay, just saying. Now, why'd they go outside? To me, that's why me and Sarge talked about this. The deduction came out to what it possibly was. I guessed what I guessed because what do you go outside for altogether? If you're struggling to breathe, you're going to go where the most oxygen is available to you, which is outside of a home. In our minds, that's how we feel. The air is cooler, therefore you feel like you're getting better oxygen. Whether it's true or not, it's just how we work things out in our heads, okay? It's a psychological type scenario. Freezing or not, to me, personally, if I felt like I couldn't breathe, I'm going to go outside to try. I do it. I've done it. When I've had asthma attacks, I go outside because I feel like I'm getting more oxygen from the air outside than I would get inside the house. It's just I think it's a psychological thing, in my opinion, but
absolutely.
Whatever.
I mean, yeah, I've taken, like LSD sometimes. I had to go outside for some fresh air, because like you're inside, you feel like, whew, I can't breathe in here. You go outside, it's like a new world,
You can't breathe in warm air. You can't breathe in hot air. When you hit the cold air, you feel like you can breathe. Okay. That's my thought. I can't think of any other reason that all three of these guys would run out the door unless they were running from something or
they were put there.
Or they were put there. There's
I'll
another
say
one.
it.
I think potentially only two of them ran out the door because one of them was just sitting there.
Well, yeah, that's and maybe again, if the one guy was sitting in the chair that slumped over like he was sleeping, I'm going to venture to say that these other two guys were out in the yard trying to get themselves to not feel like they were feeling. If you imagine that, okay?
Yeah, but maybe he went out and sat down trying to like help himself breathe and then passed away or something. But
you're right. You're right. In that sense, Irene. But our minds don't tell us that when we're struggling for, in an emergency situation.
When you don't know what the hell is going on.
And we'll have to see if it is fentanyl. We'll have to see if they can determine the source of the fentanyl, where it came from. Was it provided by the host? Was it brought in by the fifth guy? Was it all of them getting together to go get?
We don't know where and get it and come back. And
so we do know there is a fifth guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was clarified already today.
Oh my God.
So we can all agree at least that these three fully capable men were incapacitated to the point where once they went outside, they weren't able to come back in or go for help, and they froze. They didn't freeze to death. They passed and then froze.
And if it were a situation like what I said could be, you guys saw how fast and what can happen. You drop. You can't help it. It's not something you can fight against. You know what I mean? It's scary shit.
And who knows if this guy didn't see him outside and he panicked and did more drugs and passed out, or if he was the guy that actually produced whatever it was, right?
It's a great friend.
Yeah, it is. But life is like that. You don't know who anybody is, right?
Yeah, I guess.
No, you don't. You just don't know who anybody is.
I ain't doing drugs around that person. I'll tell you that.
I've known people my whole life, and they turn out to not be who you thought they were.
Yeah, exactly. Happens a lot on the YouTube.
Well, that's like that one where they said that the guy didn't drink or smoke or anything, and it's like, I mean, is that like 150%, or does he just let you guys think he doesn't drink and
your
smoke?
favorite
you know what I mean?
team, right? Your favorite team just won. A game that's going to send them on and possibly be the team. Of course, you're going to celebrate, with the rest of your boys or your friends, whatever you want to call it.
I used to go to parties all the time and never drink. Like, I have fun with myself in my own head. I don't need to be drunk to do that.
Victoria's right. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they were taking people from the stadium for hypothermia during that game. So that was another thing that was going on that day too. It's pretty crazy, and
Yeah, it was bullshit that they made, my Dolphins go down there and play in negative 30-degree weather, whatever the hell it was.
Oh
Well,
my
Unbelievable.
I want to just reply to this comment. So they all died outside, but not from the freezing weather. Bullshit. And look at, I think that, not to be disrespectful, but the statement is BS. Of course they died prior to freezing solid. Okay. So it's
I think the weather definitely froze them.
These individuals under their own power ended up outside. And then for whatever incapacitated them, it was so effective that they no longer moved from that position. They died, and as they laid out there and exposed for many, many hours, they froze. Even the coroner said that she had to thaw the bodies out. So was the cold that what killed them? No.
Oh no, not in my opinion at all.
No.
This was
Absolutely
definitely not death by hypothermia. I can almost.
But again, we don't know. Hold on a second. We don't know if none of them died from hypothermia, because if they were laying there, say not dead, and they were just really high and couldn't move, it was cold as shit that night. It was what, negative 10, I think. So
sure.
What's the, and again, I don't know. I'm not a scientist or anything, but what's the time frame it takes for someone, to freeze to death outside?
It depends on the temperature and your body, your body mass.
Yeah, because you said two of them are pretty big or something, right?
One of them was good size. The other one was kind of medium, and the other guy was kind of a smaller guy. But again, alcohol. If you have alcohol in your system, that's going to slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
Your body mass is going to slow it down. Your core temperature has to drop to a certain temperature. Once that happens, and you start to get that numbing thing, okay, once that goes, your core temperature drops.
Your extremities lose mobility and power, because your body is going to shut down distributing the blood to them. It's going to try to concentrate on your core.
And within a half hour,
it's just like heat exhaustion. When you get overstressed in the sun, you start losing mobility issues arise immediately.
Like half hour, 30 minutes, or depending on your size and stuff like that, you're in trouble. So
yeah, because I know, like I said, I know with the wind chill, it was negative 30 at the stadium at one point.
Thin Mint just made a good point. I've seen that happen. When I first saw this,
that lowers your ability to withstand hypothermia when you're drinking.
Somebody some people, when they're affected by hypothermia, actually get super hot, like burning hot, because they feel like they're burning, and they start to take their clothes off.
They take your clothes off. Yeah, that's what climbers say and shit.
Yeah, that's not good, but I'm just saying it does happen that way too.
Hypothermia is the warmest type of passing away that you're supposed to experience. You do, as somebody just said, you get warm.
Yeah,
and you'll start to pull your clothes off because right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's happened.
Look at those hikers in the Ural Mountains. Remember, they're trying to claim aliens or whatever. All those young kids froze.
Mm-hmm.
And hypothermia will, if you become hypothermic, and you're not brought into your atmosphere doesn't change, then of course you will die from hypothermia.
I think I'd rather freeze to death than burn to death. 100%.
Casey is absolutely correct. Hypothermia starts when the body reaches 95. That's your core. Okay, when you go below that, and then you add alcohol to it, it's lethal right there. So that's
a possibility.
It is a possibility, but I don't know. Something is not.
They're big men, and I don't see that they wouldn't have struggled their way to the door. I could see. I can't see three men going like that. One person I could see alone in a place where there was no way to get help, but they knew that house had heat, and they were in the yard of that house. So a slow passing by hypothermia itself, I'm not so sure, unless they passed out because there was something else in the mix.
Yeah, and that's possible.
Now, do we know? Hold on a second. Do we know if they didn't or did go out to a bar and then come back to the house, to where maybe somebody slipped something in through their drinks or anything like that, or they were all at the house all night? Somebody made a good point about GHP down below.
I mean, they were out watching the game a couple different places, according to Greasy Guy there. And then they came back to his house, Jordan's house, to play video games and hang out for the rest of the night, celebrating. They won the game. Probably, like I said, most guys, if they're playing video games, I guarantee they're playing Madden, reenacting the game. You know what I mean? It just is what we do. So, and that's my thought. Jeff Brown, youth have
What
all
is
just
cinema?
on
What is cinema
Shogun.
Shogun? I never even heard of that. What is it?
Maybe try and be original. What the hell are you talking
I
about,
was
bro?
gonna say, actually,
Well, you're
somebody
funny.
brought this to me in a freaking live before anybody put this out. So you can kiss my,
Your boss
you know
just jumped
what?
on Cinema
What-
What
Shogun.
is
I
cinema
learned it from her.
Shogun? What is it? What
don't know. What's
is
it even
Cinema
mean?
Shogun?
It's another channel.
Uh,
But I learned from her, and she told me, and yeah, that I'm not trying to. I don't even watch him. So
Who
I
was
don't even know
that?
what it is, man. I thought it
man,
was something like
people are bored as shit.
What is
Swear to
it? You
God.
said it's a channel?
it's
Jeff
a channel.
Brown?
Cinema Shogun. It's another guy. It's that
Oh.
bigger dude with the beard.
I don't
Definitely
know.
didn't
Never
get it.
heard of him.
I promise you that.
I
But
don't
whatever.
know.
There's multiple other creators covering this. Get a life, bro.
Right?
Some fairy dust was obtained by the scientist that he then added a chemical to and served it to his friends, and he walked them outside and watched them die. Let's go on that Shogun channel and tell that story.
Yeah. Oh, that's off of your channel, Clue. I didn't even realize that. Okay.
Yeah, I blocked him.
Oh,
The blockage, the hammer, the band hammer.
Oh, so it brings both. So when we're up here, it shows both sets of chats. Is that how it
yeah.
works?
Hers have that little looks like a little chain around on the icon, that little circular thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't see it.
You don't see the little.
But that's okay. I'm not interested in the circle jerk. So let's move on.
Oh my God, Sarge.
Let's have one day, Sarge, where you're not vulgar.
Being goofy is my thing. That's why I got that new thing.
Goofy
It's
is
called
goofy.
Sideshow Sergeant.
Welcome. Good to see you, Taxi. Thank you for joining us. Dahlia, good to see you.
I mean, every sports channel is even talking about this, these guys. So it's not like nobody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it.
Right.
A lot of sports channels because of, the scenario, I guess. Makes sense. But that's my thought personally, guys. Everybody has their theories on this. And I'm just, one thing I do want to say is I feel absolutely horrible for their families. I watched an interview with Ricky Johnson's father and stepmother yesterday. That broke my heart. That was horrible.
Yeah.
The mother to one of the other gentlemen is on her way back, or was on her way back. Gave an interview. That was horrible. I mean, this just sucks for everybody all the way around.
Now, did you play the lawyer video on this live, Dago?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go back and watch it then.
Last night. It was just last night. Probably. What time were we live last night, guys? 11.
Oh, so it was the last night one.
Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't do one during the day yesterday, just last night.
gotcha.
So I hadn't seen you in a couple days. So, Clue, can you throw your link out real quick, or I don't know if one of your mods are in here. Ashley was asking for that.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
So at that point, folks, I want to move along to the next topic, which is Delphi and Mr. Richard Allens. As we all know, he did get his attorneys back, the initial attorneys. I didn't know if everybody knew that, but that's a good thing. But the judge stayed, unfortunately. So, and the first thing she did was start denying everything that they put out. Okay, which I'm not surprised about. Once again, showing her power, in my opinion. I think it's ridiculous. But she did say that she would think about the fact that they motioned to have him moved to a county jail rather than prison. I
Oh,
don't know.
like a normal person.
Yeah, that's a good thing. There we go, Miss Ashley. She joined in your side, Clue.
Welcome to the Clue Crew.
Congrats, Ash. I'll even do it for you over there. There you go.
How come we've had no sound effects? I'm a bit disturbed.
They don't play in here for me.
I just well, you can only play the Discord stuff in your Discord, but I've been playing little ones here and there.
My bad.
Can you hear it? Or no, are you not hearing them?
Yeah, I hear it. Clapping.
Yeah. Are they all going through?
Yeah.
That one
Okay.
is, yeah.
All right, just wanted to make sure. So I'll let you guys check this out real quick. And like I said, as I stated, the original defense team of Rosie and Baldwin are back. I'm hoping that they're planning on hitting the. Did I hit it? By the way, I didn't even look. Planning on having the trial in that 70-day period of time they were talking about. There's new charges that were added, unfortunately, before the fact, which I don't know if that's going to change. Yep, I'm at 131. So you guys got to get Clue to 102, guys. Come on, we can do that. Sorry, I just completely lost.
Now, well, everything they just did to get his lawyers back, that had nothing to do with getting the judge out, right? Or did it?
I believe that was part of what they were talking about, but it just didn't happen.
Okay, because I didn't know if now since his lawyers are reinstated, if they can now do something to get her out of there. Because dude, she's something right with her, man.
Well, yeah, this will explain a little bit. I'll let you guys hear this real quick.
New developments to report tonight here at 6 o'clock in the Delphi murders case.
Yeah, the judge issuing some key rulings against defendant Richard Allen. Our senior investigative reporter, Bob Siegel, is in studio for us.
And Bob, I understand this now will let the state show the jury some of the most important evidence that it has against the defendant, Richard Allen.
Yeah, and Richard Allen's attorneys asked for a special hearing because they claim law enforcement lied to get a search warrant of Allen's home. Today, Judge Frances Gall shot down that idea, and she said she won't even have a hearing on that. It could have a huge impact on this case. Court documents say investigators found important evidence against Richard Allen at the crime scene, an unspent bullet found between the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German. Investigators claim ballistics testing on that bullet matches a gun they found inside Allen's home when they conducted a search warrant. And it's some of the most powerful evidence offered by the state in an effort to link Richard Allen to the crime scene. But Allen's attorneys say the Carroll County Sheriff lied in order to get the search warrant, and therefore all the evidence should be suppressed. Monday afternoon, Judge Fran Gall disagreed. She denied the defense team's request for a hearing to determine whether the sheriff lied and whether the evidence should be tossed out. Gall said the affidavit the sheriff filed to search Richard Allen's home and car was reasonable. And in her ruling, she said the court does not find that the sheriff submitted false statements or omitted statements with reckless disregard, nor does the court find that the sheriff intended to mislead the judge by failing to present information. So a jury will get to hear about the gun found inside Allen's house and how it might relate to the crime scene. Also this afternoon, the judge announced she will consider a new request to transfer Allen to a county jail instead of a state prison. She will set a hearing date for that and another hearing to decide whether to let the prosecutor add additional charges against Richard Allen. Scott, Ann?
Thank God she doesn't decide his fate. Holy hell.
What did you say, bud?
I said, thank God she doesn't decide his fate.
I don't know what
I'd like to see the science behind this ballistic examination.
I mean, well, that's what I want them to do, Sarge, is I want them to lay out 10 guns, and I want them to put a bullet in one of those chambers and take it out, or however the hell they're saying that bullet was in that gun, and then have them point out which gun that bullet was in and have an expert try to do that. I bet he'd be wrong 10 out of 10 times. I've never heard of that before.
There should be science against this because all guns work with all the same parts and the mechanisms are very similar. And the barreling, the rifling of the gun is also exact, but as bullets travel down the barrel, they leave unique scratches in the barrel. That's why ballistics is accurate. However, the cycling of the chamber to pull back the slide and discharge a shell, I don't suspect that you're going to find enough scientific differences to conclusively determine it came from that gun.
Hell no.
I do agree. I think it's bullshit. I'm sorry. It's just along with everything else that goes along with this case. Everybody, like I said before, we talked about the PCA in Idaho, and the problems with that one. But dude, guys, ladies, gentlemen, everybody. The one in this case,
this is
it's a joke. It is a joke, complete joke. It blows my mind.
Yeah, and it's happening right in front of us. Like, the guy's his lawyers are fighting right now to get him out of his state prison, and this guy hasn't gone to trial yet. That's sad in itself, right there.
The man was put in prison days after he was arrested.
As a child, as a double child, whatever, however it's called, a double child, red rummer.
Yeah.
And they're gonna say, oh yeah, he's safer there. What? Where the murderers and lifers are? Where they don't care and they prey on people like this? Come on, man.
And they keep him in segregation, of course, and then he's abused per se. His human rights are violated. So let's send him to another prison where that happens even more.
But it takes one guard, okay, to say that he accidentally didn't lock his cell correctly, and 2 people go in there and whatever. It takes one guard to not like the situation or.
And I agree, and I'm telling you, I'm curious to see now that the attorneys have been brought back. Okay, I'm curious to see what happens with this guy. I'm really curious to see if he's left alone or if he's in more danger in some sense because of how this just went down. And it kind of worries me a little bit, guys. I'll be honest with you, that he could be in more danger at this point. Not that he already wasn't in a bad situation, but we just don't know. And again, please let me clarify once again. I do not believe, because I believe that Richard Allen is being treated horribly. That doesn't mean I think he's innocent. All it means is I think he deserves the same rights that everybody else on the planet gets, or in the United States gets when it comes to these kinds of things. Okay, that's what I believe. So.
You think?
Let me give you guys, and not to mention 30. I think it was 30 minutes before the hearing the other day. They dropped new charges on him. Okay, and it's added charges. What's the word I'm trying to think of, and I can't think of it right now. Amended his charges. There we go. And that was sneaky to me. I'm sorry, but it was sneaky to me, and. This whole thing.
Yeah, but does anything really surprise you anymore about this case, Dago?
No, not at all. Nothing. Nothing at all.
Exactly.
It's shitty. It's really shitty, as if it wasn't bad enough. So let's go ahead and drop this on top of him too.
Yeah.
If the guy's guilty, then he's guilty and he deserves everything he gets. But at that point, let's wait and find out if he's guilty first. Innocent till proven guilty. That's what we're supposed to be going.
But now, even if he's found guilty from all the shit he just had to go through, getting his lawyers all that shit, he can now bring up for appeals, correct? Or whatever.
I believe so. There shouldn't be,
like the leaking of the whatever, and then this and that, and his lawyers being taken away by the judge because she just wanted to. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, she needs to go, in my opinion, and she's not going to. She's not going to allow it. You heard what they said. She doesn't even want to have a hearing. She doesn't want to hear about half the stuff that they're talking about. We'll see.
We'll sick.
See what he does. It's really sad that this guy is going through all of this. And if the man ends up not being guilty, look what he went through for however long he goes through this, just to prove that he was not the guy that did this. You know what I mean?
And then he'll never be able to go anywhere, just like Brian. He'll never be able to go anywhere again. With him and his family out to dinner or anything like that. You kidding me?
Because of this right here. Because everybody forever is going to see that face and say, he did it. He did it. He did it. I don't care what anybody says. He did it. That's just how this works, folks. It's very sad, but it's true.
It's crazy how different he looks. Like, I mean, it is it's insane.
Two different people. The only way you can tell that this is him is by his eyes. That's it. And they're even sunk in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a horrible thing, guys. It really is. Let me get this rolling for you guys real quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a horrible thing because of the piece of evidence they're saying that is the damning evidence, which is a crock of shit.
And I'm sorry, but I've looked at the bridge guy thing. I don't know how many times. I've listened to the audio. I don't know how many times. And I cannot convince myself fully that that's him. I can't. The bridge guy thing specifically, I just can't. And
I agree with you on that. That the guy in the blue jacket you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it.
I don't either.
Older.
Uh-huh. Yep. He does. He definitely, that's a good point. Thank you for saying that. He definitely has an older look than what Alan had then.
Well, and
Alan
the way his body is positioned, it's almost like a older person that's looking down. You know what I mean? It's like a hump.
Right.
Whatever.
You're right. I absolutely do agree. Here's the thing. The way Alan walks, he's got a beer belly before, well, he did, okay? And it kind of protrudes a little bit. The guy that's walking on the bridge doesn't seem to have that, okay? He kind of like walks inward, if that makes any sense to you guys. And I would imagine, I know people that have I have one, you know, the beer belly kind of gut that sticks out, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And when you walk, it's out there. You can't see that on the bridge guy, in my opinion. When they picked him up, that's how he looked. He's not a tiny guy. So,
well, it was 6 years later too. We don't know what he looked like 6 years ago exactly, do we?
Well, when they picked him up right here, when he was arrested right after this, you know, before this picture was taken, that's what he looked like. That was his body build. Oh, I see what you're saying. 6 years before.
Didn't you also say Richard Allen is short?
Yeah, he's a littler guy too. That's the thing. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not saying that Logan is the guy. I'm not saying that Holder is the guy. I'm saying that like it just doesn't fit with him for me. It never has. So I don't know.
He just walks slow. Like it's like a I don't know, like a I don't want to say bumbling. Like I'm probably not making any sense, but
no, you are making sense. I know what you're saying. His walk is kind of like
it's like somebody with age. It's like fiance in the morning.
And me then, because I do the same thing in the morning. Yeah, I know what you mean though. Like it's not an upbeat walk. I know what you're saying. It's kind of slower and a little bit more of a wobble, not a wobble, but like a bumbling is a good word in a sense.
Yeah, that's how I just think of it. Like,
it's like got like that trying to get his joints to work.
Well, it's like a tuba's behind him, like do.
The gait is definitely not the same as what I think Alan's is. I'm sorry. So I'll let you guys hear that don't know about this. What is true said, didn't he confess to his wife over jail phone calls? He did. I don't trust it.
What was the context of those confessions, right? Like, I don't know anything about that. So I'd heard that, but I haven't heard them myself.
He called his wife and said, I did this. And I know this sounds ridiculous, you guys, but I have this vision in my mind of him standing at the phone with a guard on either side of him, watching him and directing him as to what to say to her. I'm not saying that's how it happened. It's the big
going by but going by the inmates now, was it one or two of the inmates had wrote a letter saying how he was being treated in there? Right. And no inmates are going to like put their ass on the line like that and risk getting their ass kicked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the other inmate's not going to gain anything, folks, other than bad publicity from everybody else in the prison that are guards.
Exactly.
So, if nothing else, he's causing himself more trouble than what he could have for coming forward on that. So there's nothing to gain. Okay.
Just saying.
That's just my thought on this. I'm not saying it happened that way. I'm saying that I visualize it happening that way. Mind you, these are the same guards that had the Odinistic patches on their clothes and so on and so forth. Then he gets moved to this new prison. They're rather than patches, they have tattoos. I mean, is enough? It's crazy. So,
but just think of that. This can happen to any of us on here. If this isn't him, right? This could happen to any of us on panel, any of us in chat, just because for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's scary. Because a bullet they found by a crime scene could chamber through one of our guns in our house. Jesus Christ!
I was locked up for drug possession when the drugs were in my friend's pocket.
Wow!
And again, folks, I'm not saying he didn't do this or that he wasn't. He could have not been the lead person and still been involved. But at the same time, If he was involved, in my opinion, he was at the bottom of the totem pole in this scenario, which is why he's taking all the heat for it. Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's
Well,
what
yeah,
I
look,
think.
well, yeah, look at the sketches, for Christ's sakes. I can't wait till those are brought up in court. I can't wait till the court hearing. I mean, because like I said, when a jury's hearing all this, that's a completely different story than this Judge Gull shooting this
If
down,
he had-
shooting that down. And I understand that she's going to try to make it, easier for the prosecution by, denying this and allowing new charges and stuff like that. But I still think when a jury sees all this, it's going to be hard to convict him. I'm sorry.
To me, it would listen. It wouldn't be objectionable to me that if this guy, like you just said, he was involved, but maybe not the only one.
Mhm.
What would when someone's guilty, as an example, and you're seeing a case presented that's just tore up from the floor up, then it's not a matter of defending his innocence or guilt. It's more of a matter of looking at the ineptitude of the people surrounding that case.
Mhm.
That should be examined. And if this man gets off and he is the perpetrator as a result of the way the courts have handled him, the prison system, the deputies, the sheriff, the people involved, if that's the basis under which he gets off, then there needs to be a large discussion in streams about how inept and how corrupt this system is in that particular area. Because
Yeah.
this guy, like you just said, he could have been involved, just not the only one. He did confess. So it's almost fair to say, okay, he was involved, he did it, or had a hand in it. All of this outside chaos that we're seeing, if we put aside his innocence or guilt, it's that outside chaos that's really the problem, right?
Mhm. I do agree.
Mm.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, this explains the charges, how they were added or amended, and I'll go ahead and let you guys hear this.
Responsible for the brutal murders of 2 Indiana teens nearly 7 years ago. Prosecutors filed this request the same day as the Indiana Supreme Court made a major ruling in the case.
When the prosecution goes into a trial, they want to cover all their bases. And by including the murder counts for intentional, the murder counts for felony murder, and the underlying kidnapping, it really protects them.
We've been following the case of Richard Allen long before his arrest in October 2022. The crime itself dates back to February 14th, 2017, when 13-year-old Abigail Williams and her friend, 14-year-old Liberty German, went missing in the small Hoosier town of Delphi. The girls had been hiking along a bridge and trail in the area, and the next day their bodies were recovered nearby. Years went by before an arrest was made, the public only being shown a composite drawing of a potential suspect and the so-called down the hill video taken by one of the girls before her death. But then on October 28th, 2022, officials announced the arrest of Richard Allen.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation.
According to a probable cause affidavit released later, Allen was interviewed by police years before his arrest and even admitted he'd been near the crime scene the day of the murders. What's more, a bullet found just feet from the girls' lifeless bodies was a match to a weapon registered to Allen. Witnesses who were along the trail that day described seeing a man who was muddy and bloody, wearing an outfit similar to that shown in the Snapchat video. Investigators believe that man is Richard Allen.
A step in the right direction. It's concerning that he's a local guy. So I think just different emotions. Again, this is a step in the right direction. This is the first step into getting into court and having a trial.
But since his arrest in 2022, Allen's case still hasn't made it to trial. He was charged with 2 counts of murder and pleaded not guilty to both. Days later, he was appointed 2 public defenders, Andrew Baldwin and Anthony Rosie. Their involvement in the case was a topic of conversation at the Supreme Court hearing just this week.
I want Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rosie to continue to represent me until this case is resolved one way or the other.
Baldwin and Rosie were pulled from Allen's case in October this year after Special Judge Francis Gull called their actions grossly negligent. This came after a former employee at Baldwin's law firm admitted to taking photos of crime scene pics without Baldwin's knowledge. That person is now facing criminal charges. At a Supreme Court hearing on Thursday, Mark Lehman spoke on behalf of Allen, requesting 3 key points. that Rosie and Baldwin be reinstated as Allen's attorneys, that Judge Gull be removed from the case, and that the case head to trial within 70 days.
The relief that Mr. Allen wants is he wants attorneys Baldwin and Rosie on the case, and he wanted a speedy trial. And in order to show that that's an intimate part of the trial tactics and decisions that were going on, was to present that to the court and make sure that this court had an opportunity to rule on it if it wanted to do so.
Does your argument depend on our having found that the trial court's underlying findings of gross negligence and incompetence were wrong?
No.
Well, if she's right about those findings, why isn't the relief that she ordered appropriate?
First, Justice Slaughter, she's not right about those findings. Second, there isn't a record to even substantiate those findings. But third, those issues don't involve.
If there's not a record, maybe then the findings aren't proper. But if the findings are correct, why doesn't what she did follow from those findings?
Because the client has the autonomy to choose the direction of his representation. And if he is aware that there may have been some sort of violation, or the judge feels that there's a violation, he is allowed to waive that concern and to proceed forward with the lawyers that he has developed a relationship.
Lehman argued it's Richard Allen's choice who represents him.
This is more than just the choice of counsel case. Like, this is an interference of counsel. This is the right to counsel itself, because the right to counsel is meaningless. If a judge can say, stop all work, I know you've got a relationship going on, stop it all till you come to my chambers, and then says, you're off the case, whether we go into the courtroom or you stay in here, you're off the case.
Indiana Supreme Court justices even heard a letter penned by Allen himself, begging for Baldwin and Rosie's representation.
On October 11th, 2023, Rick Allen filed the following: Dear Judge Gall, please accept this letter as confirmation that I have communicated with my attorney, Bradley Rosie, regarding the circumstances regarding the leaking of sensitive information in this case. I am aware that the images of crime scene photos and other related documents were taken by a friend and former employee of Attorney Baldwin at Attorney Baldwin's office. I have discussed with Attorney Rosie the potential impact that the distribution of these documents could have on my defense. Attorney Rosie has also communicated with me that the prosecutor has requested that the attorney be disqualified from representing me in this case. I do not want this to happen. I want Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rosie to continue to represent me until this case is resolved one way or the other.
The Indiana Supreme Court ultimately ruled in Allen's favor, agreeing Baldwin and Rosie will represent him. Long crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman says that decision, paired with Allen's letter, means there's a slim chance for future arguments about counsel.
The Supreme Court made clear in their decision that Richard Allen has a right to decide the defense attorneys that he wants to represent him, and that there's really no reason why they shouldn't be permitted to do so. Now, keep in mind, one of the interesting things is that at the end of the day, it's going to be hard-pressed if Richard Allen loses the case, that he's suddenly going to say that he had ineffective assistance of counsel. Because remember, he's the one who chose them. So if they continue to make some of the mistakes they made that got them taken off in the first place, it's going to put him in a hard position appellate-wise.
That was going to be one of my follow-up questions, because I watched part of the hearing yesterday and the justices were addressing this if there was an appeal in the future. But it sounds like that likely would be thrown out because Richard Allen has doubled or tripled down saying, I want these attorneys to represent me.
It will be more difficult for Richard Allen to claim at the end of the day, if he loses the case, that his attorneys were ineffective or that he didn't want them in the first place, because as you indicated, he's doubled down and said, these are the attorneys that I want, despite any mistakes that have been made by them in the past. It doesn't give them carte blanche to be reckless throughout the trial, but it certainly limits Richard Allen in terms of the potential for appellate process.
The Indiana Supreme Court denied Allen's other requests to remove Judge Gull from the case and to speed up the trial process. But the one victory may be meaningful for Allen's case. I'm wondering if it is a small win for Richard Allen because he's worked with these two attorneys from day one, so they've had years of preparation.
Absolutely. I think it's a huge win for Richard Allen. He's comfortable with these attorneys. Now, perhaps his perspective is off. He may just want them because he's worked with them for so long. And objectively, they may not be the best attorneys for this murder case. But again, he has a right to the attorneys of his choosing, and these are the attorneys he wants, and that's what he's going to get.
With Baldwin and Rosie back on the case, there's already work to be done. On the same day the state Supreme Court made this ruling, Carroll County prosecutors recommended additional charges against Allen.
Initially, Richard Allen was charged with 2 counts of what's called felony murder. That means that during the course of, in this case, the kidnapping of the 2 young girls, they were both killed or murdered during that process. They went back to the court, and now they're asking to add additional charges, 2 counts of murder. Instead of what we saw as the felony murder, now it's the intentional or knowing murder of these 2 young girls. And then 2 additional counts of kidnapping. That would be the underlying charge for the initial 2 counts of murder that were already charged.
So we know the original one was the felony murder counts, those 2, and now there's the additional 2 of murder, 2 kidnapping. Does that mean there's a total of 4 murder charges?
Exactly. And I think people sometimes get confused because they're like, well, how are there 4 murder charges if there's only 2 victims? Simply put, you should like to have multiple theories of a case. And in this case, the theories are intentional or knowing, that he intentionally murdered these 2 young girls. And the second is the felony murder, where the prosecution doesn't need to even prove that he intended to or knowingly killed them, just that during the course of a kidnapping, the 2 young girls were killed.
Rendelman says these additional charges were likely added to benefit the state's case. It kind of sounds like a catch-all to me for the prosecution. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like they want to have all of their bases covered in an effort to get a conviction for Richard Allen.
When the prosecution goes into a trial, they want to cover all their bases. And by including the murder counts for intentional, the murder counts for felony murder, and the underlying kidnapping, it really protects them. And it'll eventually allow the jury to consider any and all charges to decide what, if any, are appropriate in terms of what they've proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
The charges haven't officially been added, but according to Rendelman, it's likely.
The judge will have to make the ultimate decision as to whether or not to add those charges, and it will be based on whether or not the facts that had been initially presented are supported by the new charges. It seems like they are, so it seems like the judge will in fact allow that to happen. One of the things the defense could argue is that it prejudices them because they weren't aware of these new charges. But the argument on the part of the prosecution is, well, you saw all the facts and you knew that it made out the specific charges. So you've been on notice since the beginning that these charges were potentially coming down the line.
Right now, Allen's trial date is scheduled for this fall. Rendelman says that date may stick.
Keep in mind that Richard Allen asked for a much shorter date for trial, and he was unsuccessful in that request. Is October reasonable? I don't think it's unreasonable. Keep in mind, he has now the attorneys he had before who are well informed on the case and have probably reviewed much, if not most, of the discovery. So I'm not sure October is an unreasonable date to have an expectation of trial.
And so far, Richard Allen himself has been somewhat outspoken. I mean, he hasn't performed any interviews or anything like that. But yesterday, an entire letter written by him was read in the Supreme Court hearing. We've seen other letters, things like that. So we know that he's somewhat vocal. Is it possible that he would want to take the stand in his own defense?
That's such a great question without an easy answer. And, you know, I think anytime you have, particularly a murder case, a defense attorney is going to turn to their client and say, wait, let's just see how the evidence unfolds, because sometimes a defendant will be ready to testify from the start and realize that testifying may actually hurt them if the case hasn't gone in as strong as the prosecution would have liked. So I think it's a guessing game right now. He may be inclined at this moment to testify, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to.
Even if Allen doesn't testify, Rendelman expects the defense to put up a fight when the case does go to trial.
Remember, most of what we're talking about is really circumstantial evidence. There's no witnesses who actually can say, Richard Allen is the person that I saw abduct these 2 young girls and kill them. And so the prosecution really is going to be relying on a lot of different little pieces, from his car to the witnesses that can't necessarily ID him, but can identify someone that looked like him, to his own statements, to, in a sense, let the jury know there really is no one else that could have committed this crime. And so in a sense, it's almost ruling everybody else out for the jury to get to him. So I think the defense does have a lot to work with. And I think we also don't know everything yet. I still think there are pieces of this case that the prosecution has kept close to the vest. And I'm interested to see what more we're going to learn as the trial gets closer.
Right now, Allen's trial is slated to begin on October 15th and last nearly 3 weeks. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
You know, I would, if I was Richard Allen or his attorneys, I would actually open up a bar complaint against the judge. And I think that this case can be used to maybe teach Americans something. The judge's only job is to prevent government overreach across the limits that we placed on government in that Constitution. And this judge took her liberty to step on this guy's constitutional right, which the Supreme Court just ruled, in fact, can't be taken from him. He can pick his own damn lawyers.
Yep. And now she's going to punish him and his lawyers for doing that.
Well, let me finish. Now, with the information that's been, with the way this has worked, I think it's within his right now to actually go to the bar and maybe even bring the case to try to bring just getting rid of this judge on that argument to another court. In other words, she won't step down. She won't do anything to move her ass out of there. I think that he should seek relief from a higher court to get her removed for the actions that she took, which violate what the judge's total existence is for, to enshrine and protect your rights from the government. Okay? And she became the government, and she decided she could remove these rights and take away his lawyers. I think he has grounds to get her removed. If not, serious argument within the Bar Association of going after her license to practice law. I would rain hell down on this judge as much as I could from that prison cell.
A good point. That's a good point. Peaches just asked, how do you stop a judge from overreaching?
That's where, yeah, that's it. The Bar Association is one avenue. You go after their law, you challenge them and their law license.
Is that something?
I think a case needs now to be made because the Supreme Court ruled on his constitutional protected right to pick lawyers. Since she violated that, should be a grounds to remove her for an impartial judge, and even remove, if not that, remove him to a different district for the case to be heard. Right?
Yeah.
But I thought he asked her to be removed.
This judge has caused such an uproar and such a media frenzy on this case. Her actions have put the trial in jeopardy because she potentially added to the bias of the jury. Whether that bias be innocent or guilty doesn't matter. Any bias added to the case by the official overseeing the case should be grounds to get a new venue.
I agree with that.
They tried to get her removed and they were denied. So what? That's why I asked earlier, what more could they do to try to get her off of this?
You go to the Bar Association. You become the greasiest wheel, the squeakiest wheel the world has ever heard.
But that means that now they have to direct all their focus on that rather than, all this, the defense they want to put up and stuff.
Not necessarily. You could do two things at once. We all walk and talk at the same time.
I think she'll fight every aspect of that, though, Sarge. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I think she'll fight it just out of pride, which is
why you do it. That's why you do it, because there isn't a fact her making a defense that she had the right to do that, showing her inaptitude as a lawyer. And
she's bringing her emotions in. She's bringing her emotions into this, and that's what the problem is. And now she's going to punish his lawyers for, and Richard Allen for doing what they just,
because they called her out.
Yep, and that's what we're going to see right here.
I got a judge knocked off of my case because he got emotional when I challenged him. When he said $500 bail, I looked at him. I said, "Are you serious? I'll be out of here in 10 minutes." $5,000. I said, "Yeah, big deal. 10 minutes." $50,000. I said, "I'm not worried about it." $500,000 bail. Bang. Well, they took him off the case for that. If you egg these people on, especially a judge like that,
they should be able to
do that through the legal process. You may see colors come out of her that even though you see all these bad colors emanating from her, there's more to come. You just
She's
need to
already
add
done a
more.
lot, so I can imagine. Yeah, you're right. There could be more. There could be more. I agree. So they're probably trying not to push it too far with the fact of that now that they're back on the case, that she'll look for anything she can find to try to either get rid of them, which I don't think she can do that now, but just to mess with them throughout this entire thing. I think
Yeah.
they
What
need
do you
to
mean? If
get.
this is a civil case, like he'd be like he's done. Like she would just, guilty because she just
Yeah.
doesn't like him. That's
Rule
why I
against
said,
him,
thank
let
God
not
this is
judge.
going.
Yeah.
But give me a second. Thank God this is going to a jury of his peers and not her ass, because she would do it just to show them, haha. And that's what's disgusting, is she's bringing emotions into this. It's not what a judge is supposed to do.
Mhm.
It's disgusting.
I do agree. I do agree.
Regardless if he did it or not,
Well, a judge is supposed to protect your limits that we placed on government. First, that's the only reason they're sitting there. A lot of folks in America don't realize the position of what the judge's job is. That's their job. It's to protect you from a state running ragged over you. That's what the Constitution is. It's to prevent the government from running ragged over the citizenry, free speech, the right to all of those aren't rights granted you. Those are limits that they're to protect. And if they go beyond them, they're in violation of the Constitution. And a case like this can be thrown out. This woman exceeded her authority as a court judge and removed his attorneys in a humiliating way and let it go public, which now influences the bias of the case. I think he's got an extraordinary basis to go after this judge and get her off that case, even get a change of venue now. We'll see what his lawyers do.
I have a feeling that they probably have that in mind at this point. They're both decent lawyers. We'll see. We'll see.
But he's also going to have a shit ton of appeals if he is found guilty because of everything you just said. So,
yeah, but the key is to get him out of there so he gets a chance at a verdict that's fair, whether he did it or not. There's so much chaos in this case, and the government and the state have been running this guy over, making their own rules, locking him down, sweating him, recording him, and the violations of the limits. Those are their rules, not mine. No one gave me permission to free speech. That's not how it works. That free speech is a limit you cannot infringe upon, Mr. Government. My right to privacy, all of those things. And they violated those in all different ways with this gentleman. If the information is true, the way they treated him in jail, the way they monitored his calls, the way they videoed his lawyer when he was with his lawyer, those are all government violations into your limits that they're supposed to not cross. So
exactly.
Human rights violations, and it's all.
I would go after this judge with a vengeance. That judge that judge thinks she's mean. I hope his lawyers have the balls to go after this woman that way, because I think the case can be made. The argument is there. The Supreme Court may have not agreed their request for them to get rid of them, but that wasn't really the venue for that. The venue there was whether he had the right to his attorneys. So keep in mind, even though they ruled that they won't remove that judge, doesn't mean that if a proper case is brought to justify her removal, that very same court may in fact rule in that favor.
Yeah.
You see, in the context it was delivered, their main issue was that he could pick his own attorneys. That's what she trampled. And they're saying because she did that, she should be removed. But now they need to put together a case that includes their decision and show the judge that she overstepped her bounds and she is not the arbiter to protect the defendant from constitutional overreach by the government.
Right.
Boy. Good old USA, huh?
It's a mess.
I haven't followed this case, but
it's okay.
There's two different sketches from two different people, or
definitely, and that is, I'll bring this up here in a minute. That is
they don't look nothing alike.
One of my biggest issues, like huge issue, that it's never been a big deal, because the one and I'll be honest, guys, in my opinion, neither one looks like him to me. But that's
I agree.
Okay. We obviously know that one is not. Give me a second here. I'll show you.
The curly hair.
The one is obviously a younger kid. Okay.
Justin Timberlake.
That's a good one, Willie. I do see that.
What'd you say?
Justin.
I've always thought he looked like Justin Timberlake.
It does kind of give that look. This is not Richard Allen by any means whatsoever.
No.
And honestly, neither is this, but whatever.
That guy looks like one of my
That's just my
uncles.
opinion. But this one here is nothing. They don't care about this. It's never been made an issue ever. Okay, why? Why have they
Well,
never made an issue out of this?
the other side of it is in that video you played, I know it's just like a super fast clip, but it's like you hear down the hill. Is that what I heard, or am I off?
You hear two different clips, and I personally feel they're from two different people. Hey
Well,
guys,
that one on that
down
bridge,
the
like
hill.
he's so far away. Like I can't even imagine that was that guy saying that. There had to be somebody behind them, beside of
Mhm.
them. Like
Well, yeah. Well,
there's
my
no
question
way.
is why if that's the guy that is on video saying get down the hill, why stop recording? Like why would you would record?
They didn't. They clipped that, okay? And we got two pieces
Mm.
of it. And I'm telling you, I don't
Think
trust
something.
that at all. I think that was fabricated. Not fabricated. How can I say this? What's the word we use for it was messed with. I'll just put it that way. Obviously, they said that they looped it, whatever, so on and so forth. Great. That's not it doesn't match at all. I'm sorry. Just as much as they looped the video of the bridge guy walking. Okay. Like we need the full on audio and video from that to be able to
Yeah.
make any kind of any kind of a thought on that, in my
Well, you
opinion.
would think he would come up and say, are you recording? Put your phone down, or smack the phone out of her hand, or like there's more to that than just.
And that whole audio, hey guys, down the hill, that's two
Mhm.
different voices, in my opinion. I've listened to it I don't know how many times. I think they put it together, and it just it's not real to me. It's not right. Okay. So Miss Cat Lady says, I remember them showing the younger one during a presser, which they also were sure that the person was in the room with them watching the press. I remember hearing that, Cat Lady. I do. It was pretty wild. And that was it. They never made a big deal about that at all. And it's like, what? Why? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Why?
Because it
Why?
didn't fit who Richard Allen is.
It has to be him. That's it. It has to be him. Bullshit.
Tunnel
Sorry.
vision. Again,
Yeah.
man, like I watched that American, the hell is it? I keep forgetting the name. American something that's new on Netflix about the case of the woman that was kidnapped and her husband was placed like blackout goggles on and everything like that. Somebody came in a swim.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I've heard that's pretty good.
I
I haven't
mean
seen it.
that dude, if that's not tunnel vision on multiple accounts due to that, that happened in that case, then I don't know what is. So it happens all the time with this tunnel vision shit, and I don't agree with it one bit, and I don't understand why it's so much harder to just do a little more investigation rather than possibly put an innocent person away in jail forever or kill them.
I don't think they want to.
Then why even get in your freaking profession then? Go do something else. Lazy asses.
Good point. I'm just, they have what they have. They have it the way they want it, and that's the way they want to keep it.
Well,
right or wrong. That's what it is.
So again, so you can, so if that's, if that's the truth, then they're murderers. These are murderers then, because they'd rather murder somebody than find the right person and get real justice. That's cool. Just to have a name and a body.
I don't understand how all these sketches look so different. Like, are we age progressing this person, or?
It's probably three different people they saw.
And well, I will say this, the old one and the young one, they kind of look alike in the nose area and the mouth. That's why I'm like, are we trying to like see what, they say like this is what they're projected to look like in 30 years. Like,
well, there's another person that I had told you guys the other day that I thought kind of resembles this sketch and definitely resembles the person on the bridge. And his son,
the boyfriend,
dating one of the victims. So you take that for whatever you take it for. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? There's a lot to this that just, it It's bad. It's wrong. And it shouldn't be. None of this should be any bit of what it is, guys. That's all I can
Oh,
say.
if it was him, they would have just done it all the correct way.
I think this sketch here, they need to pay a whole lot more attention to, and find this person and pay a whole lot more attention to him too. That's my thought.
Yeah, but they won't.
Well,
That's the sad
no.
part.
I mean, we're already where we need to be with this. Leave it be.
Yep.
That's not how it should be, but that's what this is kind of going in the direction of, if you know what I'm saying.
It's kind of like Idaho. It's either him or Cole.
Nobody.
Yeah.
You know, while the unusual event of me being quiet has been going on.
Why did you jinx it?
I've been reading on identification of bullet shells that have been cycled through a gun. And what I'm surmising from this is one that's just ejected through the normal course of pulling the bolt back will be different than one that's fired and ejected by the gun through the gas system of the ejector. And
exactly.
that I don't think, and I looked at this because of your point of view, the 10 different guns, 10 different, and I think that in this particular case, the fact that they're claiming it was cycled through, I would be highly suspect as to the marks left were identifiable enough to say that it has to be his gun. So on that, where you're saying 10 different guns, you may have 10 different things. I think the ejector system is not hitting that case hard enough to leave the identifiable tool marks they're claiming to make it so unique that it could.
Can't the defense bring up like other gun owners in the area of that type of bullet? I'm sure. Isn't that what the defense would do?
Just so you know, normally this is used to identify the caliber of the gun and when there isn't a bullet. If there's a casing on the ground, they'll use that casing to identify the type of firearm. So that casing may be used in several different versions of guns. So, and this gun that he owns is in fact also capable of that. So what you would be able to do is, even though you knew the caliber of the bullet, that doesn't tell you what type of firearm it was shot from. But if the bullet was actually shot, the ejector markings on that casing because the ejectors are going to be unique per caliber per gun.
So you're saying this bullet isn't even unique enough to be matched to his specific gun?
I think because it was a manual ejection, it was not an ejection under the process of firing the gun.
Yeah.
Right. So you know how fast a gun moves, a 9mm or whatever, a 45, that action slides back in place in less than a blink of an eye. And it's got to hit that casing hard to eject it that quick to get the next one in the chamber. So a fired gun versus a cycled gun, I believe, are going to leave. I think the cycle gun becomes almost unidentifiable, and it's a reach to say that it can only have been this particular guy's gun.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, I would bring up every single gun owner in the area that has any kind of gun that could shoot that bullet, and then boom, there's your reasonable doubt.
This comes from a firearm identification training manual by Robert M. Thompson. So that's where I got this information from. And
if you can just look that up in a couple minutes, imagine what his lawyers are going to do,
Salty said real quick, Delphi will confuse you. And of course I agree too. We don't know that Richard Allen is innocent or guilty at this point. The Supreme Court stood up for his rights, and Delphi, it is a big, big case, guys. And the water is dirty. I do agree with that 100%. Salty, she also agreed with you on what you were just saying, Sarge. 100% all the way across the board. So it's a bad mess, folks. A big bad mess.
And yeah, if they got the right guy, it looks like they effed enough of the stuff where this guy may end up going free.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they're torching the guy may not live long enough to make it to trial. I mean, based on some of the stuff we're hearing, its accuracy being at this point not totally confirmed, right? We don't know. But if from what we're seeing from the outside looking in, it looks like there's a lot of justice system malfeasance here.
Yeah, well,
and they're adding more charges on with the same amount of evidence. That's wild.
Like Salty just said, the only person we've heard from on that gun scenario is the prosecution's ballistic expert.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely not
fair. And in just the little bit of time that I had shut up, I had read an entire, PDF on it. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm not a lawyer, but I know that his lawyers are definitely going to question that ejected casing because it was a full bullet. And to think that that it's not, again, these guys are using stuff they claim are fingerprints, but they're not. If that bullet had been fired and not recovered, then I think, depending upon the spent shell's ejection ballistics or examination, would hold way more water because of the forces involved to leave the imprints. I think that would be fair, that if you come up with a gun and you could look at it, and like you're saying there, Willie, 10 different guns are going to have 10 different things.
Yeah.
But this bullet was cycled through a gun. Therefore, I think that's very suspect to say that you can, with it being non-fired casing, that you could identify it specifically to just one gun. I think that's BS.
Beyond.
I'm just saying, if you take like, you know, even just 5 or 6 different guns that could fire that bullet, and, you know, do 3 different rounds of tests with their expert and stuff. And I don't know if they could do that, but again, I don't think there's any way in hell somebody would be able to tell which gun it was chambered through. Now, shot through, okay, like you said, chambered through is a completely different ballgame, in my opinion. And you just read it, so I guess in your opinion as well.
I wholeheartedly agree on that one.
I just want to make this comment in response to a comment on Clue's stream. Just keep in mind, folks, there's no way I'm smart enough, okay, to understand every big word that I share. Just be aware.
What word did you use? Surmise?
Malfeasance.
Oh.
Calm down, boys. It's okay.
I think surmise just means to assume, right?
Come to a conclusion.
We use surmised information to come to a conclusion. That's not really assuming. Assuming is with the lack of information, you're coming to a conclusion, right? You assume you make an ass out of you and me.
Mm-hmm.
Surmise doesn't port to be the same as
Is it surmise or sumise?
Whatever. However, we all speak different dialects.
Every way you want to say it.
Oh, no, I don't.
Why is everybody always picking on me?
Mountain Man says, you know, all they have is a .40 caliber shell, and he owns a firearm of that caliber. So do millions of other Americans, and that's the biggest problem right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's no way in my mind, I agree, that you can look at that one specific gun and say, okay, it was loaded into his gun. That means he's guilty. Let's go. Handcuff him. We're out of here.
Yep.
Get out
You
of here.
can if it was a ballistics determination.
If he would have shot it, that's different. Yes, I agree.
They did. This is just an unspent shell, a completely clean round that you could load in a gun and fire if you so chose.
Right. Barbie says, plus that bullet wasn't found by law enforcement. Private citizens found it later and called law enforcement. So again,
what?
So there's no, so the crime scene integrity isn't there either.
Agree.
Hell no.
One more problem to add to the heaping pile of shit that this case is.
Thank God airplane pilots aren't like lawyers. For God's sakes, thank you.
But just think of how many other cases that, you know, this has happened to people that we don't know about. That's the thing. You know, I'm sure there's a lot.
I'm no one, and I've experienced it twice in my life.
Exactly. You know. So does that mean it could happen to anybody?
Yeah, it does.
They could take 3 different sketches that look all different and say, "Hey, it's you."
Until they go through a complete retraining program across the country, from the smallest to largest departments. It's okay if your fellow officer makes an honest error, you need to correct him. If you see him committing a crime intentionally, you need to arrest him.
Yeah, but they'd rather like try to keep throwing stuff on top to just.
I know.
You know.
That's what I mean. The training needs to be. It needs to be nationwide, from the smallest to the biggest. And that particular example is probably the most important thing to train them. You're human, okay? And that there should be constant checks on these people through reviewing their cams or whatever. That, you know, if these people are seeing everybody that isn't a cop a thug, then they need to be removed from duty, not punished. I could see you getting jaded. Come on. I don't, but at that point, if you've reached the level of being jaded, you need to be removed from your duties and reassigned to something, not punished and fired. The man's still capable of doing something. You know,
Sarge, have
can
you
imagine patrolling in downtown Chicago? Could you imagine being one of them police?
No, hell no.
And you're going to do that for 20 years and never get jaded or never get points of views that impact your decisions? I can't. That's impossible. You're a human being, man.
I'm good.
So we should give them a human exit from that. With it's kind of like, I think big problems with the drug addiction is the dehumanizing of the person that's addicted. That doesn't help, right?
Yeah. Have you seen the documentary yet on Netflix, Sarge, or no?
I don't really do much TV and movies.
Well, it's not like a TV show. It has to do with a case, but how deep it goes in and of what I mean, everything you just mentioned. I mean, I think it's something that I think you should watch and see how deep they would go.
What's
It's
the name
amazing.
of the movie?
It's the American shit. Clue. I think you called me last time. It's American
Nightmare.
American Nightmare.
Isn't that what you just saw with some girl?
Yeah, that one. But I didn't. I mean, I saw a documentary on it before from, I believe it was either Explore With Us or that chapter. But the third part in that documentary I didn't know about, and that blew my freaking mind, dude. So I think because everything you just spoke about is what they did in multiple cases they could have prevented. It's disgusting. I mean, dude, listen, you have to see it, man. It's wild. It pissed me off, I'll tell you that.
I've heard it's a really good show. I have to check it out myself.
Yeah.
Is this Koberger?
This new documents I'm going to show you real quick. Real quick though, Salty says Officer Greg Ferenczi was FBI Delphi task force member working Odinite's angle. He was killed by ambush. An ex-corrections officer killed him. What are the odds that another corrections officer? That's interesting, isn't it? And that was in 2021. Huh. That's real interesting to me. Very interesting to me.
I think things like the Gigolo case, the things like this case, and many other cases, and things that we may have experienced or witnessed, have given a lot of people an unfortunate view of police, an unfortunate view. Like I said, thank God lawyers don't fly planes, right? And that view has been cultivated for so long that unless we recognize it and work to change it, nothing's going to ever. It's just going to get worse, I think you guys with all these streams actually could have a big hand in that.
Good point. Good point. Thank you, Salty. I can't wait. Seriously. All right. So this is the first of the new documents. I think there was 5 dropped. Absolutely, Mountain Man. And again, guys, there's nothing deep with these. It's nothing extra special. It's just more motions for. We got 1, 2, 3 days for the hearing. So I told you guys I thought a lot of this stuff was going to start dropping left and right for this. So we'll see. Motion to seal state's memorandum in support of its objection to the defendant's motion to seal. Comes now the state of Idaho, by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, and respectfully requests that this court seal its memorandum in support of its objection to the defendant's motion to seal as it addresses substantive matters of the grand jury exempt from disclosure under Idaho Court Administrative Rules 32 and the Idaho Criminal Rules. Respectfully submitted on this 19th day of January, 2024. Ingrid Beatty. So that's the first one. These all dropped on the 19th, by the way. Take care, Salty. Thank you. And I'll be looking for that thing that you're sending me. I appreciate that very much. So there's the first one. And then once again, oof, that blows it up real quick. there's the objection to the defendant's motion to unseal, which you knew that was coming. Okay. Comes now the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney and objects to defendant's motion to unseal. In support of its objection, the state has submitted a memorandum objecting to the defendant's motion. The state has filed this memorandum under seal as it addresses substantive matters of the grand jury exempt from disclosure under the Idaho Court Administrative Rules 32 and the Idaho Criminal Rules. Again, Ingrid Beatty, the 19th day of January. And there's not a lot to talk about with this, folks, honestly, because it's just the motioning to do this stuff, which we all knew this was coming. As soon as they brought the fact that they wanted to unseal, there's going to be an objection to that. So, there it is. And then we have those two were dropped on the 19th. I'm sorry. These three were dropped as of yesterday, actually. This again is the
Dago, your phone's a little too close to the computer, man. There you go.
Is that better?
You don't hear it now.
Yeah, it's done. It's gone.
It was my phone. It wasn't even close that time. So, okay. Sorry about that. It must mean it's probably going to damn rain.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but it kept doing it.
No. I want you guys to tell me that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Amended motion to temporarily seal the state's memorandum in support of its objection to defendant's motion to unseal pending hearing. There's so much of this crap, guys. Comes now state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney and respectfully requests that this court seal its memorandum in support of its objection to the defendant's motion to unseal as it addresses substantive matters of the grand jury exempt from disclosure under Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32 and the Idaho Criminal Rules again. And like I said, this was to be expected, especially considering what we have here. The next one, I don't even need to read these to you guys, I don't think. This next one is the same type scenario. Amended order temporarily sealing the state's memorandum in support of its objection to defendant's motion to unseal the pending hearing. Based upon the state's motion to seal state's memorandum in support of its objection to the defendant's motion to unseal, filed herein, and no objection from the defense counsel. So the defense did not object to any of this, okay? Any of this here. The court does hereby confirm an order that the state's memorandum in support of its objection to defendant's motion to unseal, exempt from disclosure, and are sealed pursuant to the Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32G1. So that's the order, okay? Based on that motion that was put through. So that's handled. That's done. I didn't even put it up there. I'm sorry, guys. I thought I did. Hold on a minute. I'll show it to you real fast.
There's a new article out, Dago, on Jordan Willis.
Okay. We can jump right back into that after I drop these. No worries. That's how that happened last night. I told you. As soon as I ended the show, I got an email and it was like, oh, look at that kitty.
What?
Dude, she's being so nice right now. She's like a dog.
She's like, yeah, touch me, touch my belly, rub me there. She's cute. How old
I
is
never
she?
had a cat like this. She's 2.
Cool.
I just figured it'd brighten everybody's day.
And here's the last one. Yeah, she's sweet. All right. So this one is the temporary order sealing the state's memorandum in support of its objection to support the motion to seal the pending hearing. I mean, it's the same stuff, guys. This one, it reads the same as the other, so I'm not even going to bore you guys to death with that. But that's it. Those are the new documents dropped. And again, like I said, today is Tuesday, the 23rd. So we got 1, 2, 3 days, and we're live. We are in the courtroom again in Idaho. So,
Boy.
where's that article at, Clue?
Oh, hold on. Let me get you the. I read it earlier. It's just pretty much. Let's see if my link will work today.
Yeah, that's fine. What's her name, Willie?
Her name's Zena.
Did your daughter name her?
Well, we named her together. She's Greek as can be.
There you go.
She's a yes, ma'am.
I put that in the back chat. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Want to say hi?
She's like, no, I want you to keep rubbing my belly.
I never had a cat that liked belly rubs, dude. Like all of them would either bite or scratch or.
Yeah, most of them don't like being touched. My Oliver likes it, but not for very long. You can do it for a while, and then he like he'll grab you real quick, and he's done.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's because I bottle fed her, so.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like.
Same thing I did with Oliver because he was too little to be taken from his mom.
Mm-hmm.
She's really, really sweet though. Very cute.
Yeah, we just meet her.
Right. So this says exclusive pictured Kansas City Chiefs fan and HIV scientist Jordan Willis, whose 3 friends were found dead in his backyard after he went to bed. Jordan Willis, 38, says he has no idea how his friends died and was sleeping. He has moved out of the home and deleted all of his social media accounts. Well, I figured that out last night. This is the Kansas City Chiefs fan who says he was sleeping when his 3 friends died in his backyard in the freezing temperatures on January 7th. Jordan Willis, 38, is an HIV researcher and protein scientist who lives and works in the home on Northwest 83rd Terrace, Kansas City, Missouri. On January 9th, the bodies of his 3 friends, David Harrington, Ricky Johnson, and Clayton McGeeney, were found in his backyard. They had been there since January 7th when the 3 men visited Willis to watch the Chiefs play the Los Angeles Chargers. Willis's attorney claims he said goodbye to his friends, 2 of whom he'd known since high school, and then crashed on a couch. Short term later, he says he went upstairs to bed. See, that changed again. Damn. Short time later, he says he went upstairs to bed, leaving the doors unlocked. The 3 men, he says, then returned to the property and at some stage went outside. There was a 5th man in the home on the night in question, a buddy, who Willis says left earlier than the other 3 men. No other information about him has become public. Pasterno insists that Willis had no involvement in the deaths of the 3 men. He has nothing to hide. He went to the police station and spoke with officers without a lawyer present. He allowed them to search his home. These were his friends. He bought tickets for them all to go to the next Chiefs game. He didn't want any harm to come to any of them, and there was no ill will. Attorney John Pasterno told DailyMail.com. That's him there.
See, when I look at that picture, it's like so hard for me to think that this guy would have done something like nefarious. You know what I mean?
I agree. It is very hard, but we all know that can't always be what it is.
I know, but
right. Jordan Willis is an award-winning HIV scientist who has moved home and deleted all of his social media after 3 of his friends were mysteriously found dead on his property.
He deleted his social. Ooh.
Yeah, because we went looking last night and there's nothing. It's gone. And this shows David Harrington, second from left. That's this guy here.
Is there any way to zoom in or no? Diego? Does it let you?
Let me see.
I just want to see their faces up. Oh wait, actually, I think I can. Hold on. Yeah.
These articles are hard to.
Oh, I can zoom in. No, sorry, never mind.
I can blow it up that way a little bit, but I can't see the chat. So if I'm not ignoring you guys, I'm just.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, that
One,
helps a little.
looks like the one has a beer in his hand, right?
Yeah, Corona.
Yeah.
And then this is Jordan. Again, Jordan. There's the dogs that he had at his father's that night. There he is again. Willis with a relative. He maintains that he had nothing to do with his friend's death. Police say there was or is no foul play and have neither arrested nor charged him. Now, this is the back of his house that we looked at with all that furniture and stuff. There's the back door and the other slider there. And there was one of the gentlemen were found back here, and the others were out in the yard. And there's the rest of the backyard. I don't know where out here they were found, but they were found out here somewhere.
And they weren't gardeners.
And that's for sure. That's the outside front and left of the house. We looked at all that last night. This is Ricky Johnson. We watched an interview with his father and stepmother last night. This is David Harrington. And then this is the other Clayton McGeeney. This is the smaller of the three.
Well, now let me ask you a question. Where does your mind go if the toxicology reports come back negative for any kind of substances?
No idea.
He froze
No
to death.
idea. That's the only other thing that I would imagine. If there's no foul play,
3 people.
I mean,
anything is possible, bro.
someone said earlier on here about a video they were watching on YouTube where like there was like 2 guys walking and one of them was like just got stopped, like frozen or whatever, and they like it was literally just like hypothermia setting in. One of them fell to the ground. I mean,
right.
No, I don't know if you guys.
Been that cold before.
Okay, I'm sorry, but don't you get hypothermia more when you sweat, right? They say when you're outside in the cold and you sweat. And I'm watching dudes run around for, was it maybe 3.5 hours without sleeves on, without, long socks on, running back and forth, sweating, all this shit. And none of them died. But yet 3 people died at the same time from hypothermia for because they went outside. How like, no.
We can agree that it's highly unlikely that they're, we all, I think, realize that that's pretty unlikely that 3 men went outside and just froze to death, right? That the likeliness of that is like, you
But now, if one of them, if one of them was drunk, stumbled and passed out and froze to death,
we do have 3, so
exactly.
Taking it as face value, you can't get to the moon with a trampoline. It just don't work.
Yeah, right. That's a good way to put it. I'm going to play this video for you guys. This is the one I was going to play last night, and I didn't get to it.
We have his mother, Norma Chester, his brother, Jonathan Price, and his niece, Stephanie Walling. To the 3 of you, my deepest condolences to your family. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us this morning. I can't imagine. Norma, let me just start with you. You got the phone call that every parent dreads. How are you holding up? And who was Ricky, for those of us who didn't know him?
It's very hard holding up. I don't remember what she
Who was he?
He was a loving son. He was a loving father, a loving brother, uncle.
Yeah, Norma, we hear your heart, and I can't.
The video we watched last night, the interview that we watched of the gentleman that had the tracheotomy and his stepmother. This is his actual mother here, and it's not stepmother. Just so you guys understand, and I believe his brother too. So,
Jesus, man.
Imagine what you're feeling as a mom. I think I think, too, anyone following this story from near or far can agree that something just doesn't add up here, right? Three friends don't just get together for a football game and freeze to death, which is what the guy who lives in that home says happened. What does your mother's intuition tell you, Norma?
That something is not right, and he should be arrested. He should at least be investigated, and they are not doing anything.
Jonathan, what's your sibling gut check here? And, to your mom's point, can you offer any more insights as to who this man was who hosted Ricky and his friends, how he didn't know that there were bodies in the backyard or didn't report that there were bodies in the backyard for days on end? What are you learning from law enforcement?
Well, law enforcement hasn't spoken to me specifically, but it's mostly word of mouth right now. And what we do know is that he did have animals that do need to go outside. They didn't get enough snow to really think that would, cover an entire person. And, dogs have that sense. There's many different things that don't add up that we just don't understand, and how somebody would not be at least investigated in any way or held until, because we've heard that he's moving out as well. So we don't know if he's going to be around longer.
Okay, and just to clarify, did you know this guy ahead of time? Any red flags that you know about with this friend, this fourth party?
No, the two men that my brothers were with, they were inseparable. But this man, we did not. No one from Ricky's family knew. And we don't know how they became associated together.
Yeah. Gosh, Stephanie, police quickly ruled out any foul play, but it seems so many, including the direct family members, y'all are still in the dark, wondering what led them to that conclusion in the first place. Have police shared any evidence with you or, closer family members that maybe haven't shared publicly that are helping you make any sense of what happened whatsoever, or it's just been silent on your end?
Yeah, we haven't really heard much at all. Honestly, we just want answers.
Ricky's cause of death is still under investigation. An autopsy has been performed. Norma, what are you hopeful for when it comes to those results? I mean, what are you hoping? Are you hoping it's something as innocent as carbon monoxide poisoning? I mean, what
kind of question is that?
As you wait for those results to come back to your family?
I have not one time thought it was carbon monoxide. I believe they were poisoned by this guy.
Jonathan, any idea, any insights that you could give us as to, these three friends? You've seen the rumor mill swirling online. Do you think it was sinister? Do you think it was, drinking involved, drugs involved? I mean, what do you think?
I mean, it's definitely drinking. Everyone loved to have a good time, especially when watching the Chiefs game.
Sure.
And I don't like to speculate very much. I like to deal with facts. But, my brother was a smart man, and there's no way that he would, it's just freezing to death is not a cause of death that I would accept. Not for three grown men that were inseparable, that looked after each other. There's just no way.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what a toxicology report would tell us on all that, other than what potential drugs were in his system. But then again, it took a very long time to get that autopsy done because of the situation that arose and how long they had to wait and everything like that. And I'm not a scientist in any way, so I don't know how long those drugs are still in their systems if they were drugged. But yeah, we're just looking for some type of effort.
5 more mistakes, guys.
Sorry, guys.
Well,
so there is that, and hold on.
And that's what I want to know is where, their family members stood on this, and there you go.
That freaking beard on that dude. I'm sorry, but that's legit. Like,
I mean, that's legit. That's like every other Amish person I see out here in Pennsylvania.
I mean, it's impressive to me.
I thought
Come
that's
out
what.
the,
I thought
come
that's
out the
what.
PA.
What?
Have a whole group of them.
I thought that's what Cletus had.
He does. I mean, it's still.
Mine's more than just the
Yeah,
but
but
do you have
have
a
your
mustache?
mustache.
Do you have a mustache or no?
Yeah.
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 I was gonna
That's
say if
weird.
he was up here with that beard, he'd get jumped for being, a fake Amish. Just saying.
What?
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Could be walking around with a beard like that.
For real?
He'd be
No, I'm
running
just
from
kidding.
he'd be running from buggies being pulled by horses, is what he's saying.
And plowing fields and stuff. Yeah, I get it.
So do you have anything, Clue or Cletus, anything else in regards to the Kansas City scenario to say or put in or add or anything?
I don't know. It's weird. I want to know. I want the toxicology to come back. I want to and it's crazy too, because I just cannot imagine. So you don't know anything. Like, let's say on the outside, you show up, you don't see any injuries, anything like that. Why do you still not treat it as an investigation? That's if one person went out there and was passed out, there's one person outside. I could see that, right? There's two people in the home. He goes to bed, one of them passes out outside, and but three people.
Mm-hmm.
And from the get-go, it's not suspicious. It's not even, it's like we just showed up to the Idaho house. Nothing.
Yeah.
But somebody said they didn't even go in the house or no, they didn't investigate the house or anything.
No, they did, but they didn't need a search warrant because he opened at the door and said, "Yeah, go ahead on inside, check out everything you need to." He cooperated fully with them. So,
but they did check the house.
Let me just say that just to be aware that you're only going to have, and we know he's a chemist, and this may mean something. Fentanyl will show up in a urine test 24 to 72 hours. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. After 72 hours, you can urinate your life away, and you're not going to see anything in it.
And the problem with this is that they have to completely thaw out it to be able to perform the autopsy the right way.
Right. That's why
hopefully that didn't.
I'm talking about the surviving guy. Remember earlier I said did they draw blood because the blood tests can detect it between 24 and 48 and urine 24 to 72.
But if she just said he wasn't investigated, how would they get his blood?
And that's the thing. Like, even if he's innocent, I feel like they're maybe doing a discredit to all of the family members of these men to not, at least until you know any better, to not treat it like an investigation. And I'm not even sure that they aren't, but you would think they would tell the guy, stay put. Don't go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I was going to say, I know he moved, but I don't know where he moved to. And they said they know, it's said that they know where he is, but like, I hope they told him don't leave the state and stuff like that. Like, you need to hang local around here. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they said they knew where Brian Laundrie was too.
So yeah, I know. I agree with you.
It's crazy. They arrested Karen Reed pretty quick, didn't they?
Well, that's a little different, but I'm gonna hope that they have eyes on this guy until they get results back on this. You know what I'm saying? Like, they probably have somebody on him just on a regular, just to make sure that he's not doing any weird shit and taking off. You know what I mean? It's got to be one of the strangest cases I've seen, in my opinion.
Well, I can tell you that when we were looking, he spent more time in that area than anywhere else when it comes to moving. He's lived in 4 different houses with zip codes that connect to each other back to back.
Yeah, they're all.
He's really been in that area for a long time. This particular renter.
That northwest, what is it?
94th Street.
Yeah, he's all around that whole area.
Yeah.
The only time that he was in Cali, and I'm gonna guess that was probably for like schooling for what he does.
He was in Florida too for a short period of time. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, but my thing is he's moving, but again, he may not be moving out of the area because he's more prone to stay in the area based on what I found. It's clear he's had 4 different rental homes within that area.
And his dad lives right up the road, they said. So like, he's got family there. That's where he's from. He went to school with 2 of the other guys. So hopefully,
He was in zip code 64150, 64152, 64153. So he's moved into different residences that are nearby there.
Yeah,
And
that whole. Go ahead.
I mean, he could be completely innocent. All I'm saying is, it just seems that you would not come out and say no foul play.
Yeah, until you know for sure.
Right, at least until you get the toxicology or something.
Exactly. I agree with you.
The thing that I want that just me personally, I have the hardest time with accepting complete innocence in the situation is that it doesn't appear he's reached out to the families of the people that he's been friends with since high school, because 2 families out of the 3 we've heard speak out, which means at least one of those is the family of one of the people he went to high school with. So it's just, to me, I know if I were in that situation, that's the first thing I would want to do is make sure I do what I can to console them. And then the other thing that makes me just that unfortunately creates skepticism is the fact that his attorney sounds sketchy as fuck.
Yeah,
because he changes his story so much.
Yep.
And it may not
I
be
can't
fair
wait to
the
watch
guy.
that.
It may not be fair to the guy, but it is what it is. This guy is representing him and is making him look even sketchier.
That's what I said. And that other guy, the fifth guy, the fact that he has not stepped forward, made a statement, contacted the families, said, "Hey, sorry this happened, this and that." He's hiding. It seems like he's in hiding too, and that to me is real sketchy. I agree with that. So,
so like I said, these are great friends. You know.
Well, I don't know that particular guy that was the renter. That one family said they didn't know him. Now these were high school friends, and they're all aware of that. But did any of the families personally know this renter?
No, the other 2 families I do believe knew him because of the 2 guys that went to school with him. But that one guy was separate. He was a newer friend.
They acknowledge they went to school with him, but it doesn't. Nobody so far has said that he's like in their comments. So like this family just said that they were unaware of him.
Well, the only thing that we have that implies that is there's a statement that says he ignored phone calls and messages from
okay,
friends
so yeah,
and loved ones.
He was closer than these people had known. Okay,
yeah, and that's a good point that you brought that up, Cletus. Because why did he not say, "Hey"? If he didn't think anything was wrong and had no clue as to what was going on, why didn't you answer the phone or answer the message and say, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" You know, like why did you hide from that? That's another problem I have.
Exactly.
So,
and if he works for himself, what is he scared of about his employment? So,
I mean, that's another good point. You know, two of the 3 were very close friends to him. 2 of the 3 went to school with him. They've known him for his whole life. So, I think you owe it to those families to say, "Hey, what's up? You know, what can I do for you?" You didn't even do that. So
that's all I'm getting at. That would go a long way at indicating innocence to me.
Yeah.
David Harrington and Clayton McGinney, they were the 2 that were close to him, that knew him his whole life. Ricky Johnson was not as close, I should say. So it's pretty wild. It is pretty wild, guys, and it's been a daily thing. We've been updating every day on it thus far. Unfortunately, it's been kind of, you know, the pork chop attorney and his greasy ass telling lies and twisting stories. I'm sorry, I just don't like him. So, hopefully we'll get some real truth and some answers from the autopsy, at least relatively soon. I know we're gonna have to wait on the toxicology, like I said, but hopefully the autopsy gives something, you know, something for the families to be able to go, okay, maybe we can breathe a little. Hopefully. I can't say that that's really going to happen soon, but I would pray. It's been, you know, what, 3 weeks now?
No, I don't think it's been 3 weeks. It was the 7th, and today's the 23rd, so it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
right?
Sorry.
Right? The 9th is when it all became apparent.
Well, let me ask you, David, do you think they're watching them?
2 weeks. I do. I think somebody's watching him. Until they get back some kind of a result from the toxicology and the autopsy, I think somebody, at least some person's watching him, just to keep an eye on him to know what he's up to. That's all.
I just feel like, you know, if he was up to something, this is a long time to give him to get rid of, you know, whatever.
What would he get rid of? You know, that's the thing.
If he poisoned them, he can get rid of the, you know, with the shitty. Who knows? I don't know.
So, let me read the rest of this to you guys, by the way. I forgot. I didn't realize there was more underneath it after that interview. It says he slammed internet sleuths and those assuming that he is to blame, calling speculation unfair.
Right. We've said that here. We've said that here. We've been fair.
I try. Paserno refused to answer questions about whether the men were using drugs. Now, when he was asked that question directly, he said, "There's things that I'm not going to be able to comment on."
Yeah.
That told me, yeah, or at least he believes there might be. That's a flag. So, he refused to answer questions about whether the men were using drugs. The result of the medical examiner's toxicology report have not been released. Yes, of course. Willis insists that he spent the next 2 days in his home, not thinking anything of the fact that his friends' cars were still outside. So he realized they were out there.
Not realized.
No, he realized, just not thinking that it was a big deal that they were there. And only learned that they had died when the fiance of one of the men broke into the house on January 9th in the hopes of finding him. He believes that after he waved the men off on January 7th, that they returned while he was asleep to hang out in the living room. Maybe they didn't want to go to a bar or hang out somewhere else, Attorney John Paserno told DailyMail.com today, as the families of the 3 victims demanded answers. He worked from home and his 2 dogs were at his father's house, so it did not require walking. For 2 days, the families of the victims say they bombarded Willis with phone calls and Facebook messages asking where their loved ones were, but received no response. When the fiance broke in on January 9th and found the first body, she called police. Officers arrived to find Willis. Okay, this is new. Arrived to find Willis, or no, that's not. I'm sorry. In his underwear with an empty glass of wine in hand, according to the victims' families. The other 2 bodies were then found in the backyard. The deaths remain a mystery. Police say there was no foul play and Willis has not been charged or arrested. The medical examiner is yet to reveal how the men died or what kind of condition their bodies were in. Willis, through an attorney, has denied any wrongdoing. And there he is again. I mean, like Clue said, the guy just doesn't look like that guy, but looks are deceiving, folks. We do know that. I don't know.
I would want to know, like, if it really was him, and I'm not saying that it was, but you guys obviously have been friends maybe for a bit, you know what I mean? And why would you all of a sudden just, I don't want you anymore around me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know.
It doesn't make sense. I agree with you on that.
But again, anything could happen. I mean, they could have found out something about his. Again, your mind can go to different places, and it happens. 3 people won't just die. I'm sorry.
In 2022, he received an award for his significant contributions to HIV vaccine development. Let me see. On January 9th, Captain Jack Bashina of the Kansas City Police Department said, first and foremost, this case is 100% not being investigated as a homicide. There have not been any arrests or charges, and no one is in custody. There are no specific threats or concerns for the surrounding community at this time. The resident at the house was cooperative with detectives the day the deceased were discovered. The loved ones of the men are, however, speaking out to demand answers. She said the police are not doing anything to solve the mystery of her son's passing and called for the owner of the home to be at least investigated. Johnson's brother, Jonathan Price, said that he heard the owner of the home had animals that would need to go outside and claimed the city didn't get enough snow to submerge the men for them to be hidden for days. There's many different things that don't add up. We just don't understand how somebody would at least be investigated in any way, he said. We've heard that he's moving out as well, which he's done already. So we don't know if he'll even be sticking around much longer. This is Ricky Johnson with his family. Sad. He said Johnson and his two friends were inseparable, but he did not know Jordan Willis and hadn't heard how his brother met him. Price said that he didn't want to speculate over his brother's death, but said that the circumstances don't make sense to him at all. My brother was smart, and there's no way that he would just freeze to death. Freezing to death is not a cause of death that I would accept, he said. There's a GoFundMe set up for Johnson's funeral. He was described as a cherished son, brother, uncle, and friend who was beloved by all three beautiful daughters. By his three beautiful daughters, I'm sorry. Johnson's father raised the possibility of legal action, telling KSHB that he has retained an attorney and is waiting for a search warrant to be issued on the home. I'm not going to stand back and let it go, he said. I will go until the day I die to get this figured out. So there's that. I guess Ricky Johnson's father has an attorney that's working on getting a search warrant to search the house now. And I don't know how that's going to go, but
well, I don't want to break up the you were on a good roll there, but I do want to say I'll talk to you all later. I do have to fly.
I think, yeah, we're done anyway, Sarge. So thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you very much, and I will talk to you soon. Go eat your steak.
Awesomeness. Thanks.
See you, man.
Yep. Take care, brother. Cleetish. Thank you guys for joining us today. I appreciate your input, opinions, everything. I appreciate you both very much. Willie, thank you as well.
Of course.
I appreciate you as always too. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys soon. Everybody else in the chat, I want to thank you for joining us today. Both sides, I appreciate you all very much. I hope everybody has a great day. Don't forget to love yourselves, love each other, and do not change a thing about yourselves because you are the beautiful people. And I will see you all on the other side. Take care now.
There you go.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.